Hey, welcome. What's up, jerks? Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. I think it's Thursday, right? It is Thursday. It's funny the stuff you just get wrong sometimes, like the day of the week and the stuff that people hold you to. It's hilarious because I can't even keep track of what day it is this week. Never mind. But anyways, we're live right now, and I'm wicked excited because we just had court today. Karen Reed case. Karen Reed hearing. And it was about what we were talking about last night with Video Jesus, Abby. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe tonight to her YouTube and her Twitter, her X. We'll hopefully post those up in the chat like we did last night. I know she got a lot of new followers. We're hoping to do that again tonight. It's going to be a quick show till maybe about 5:30 because Maz is doing a big show tonight. I want to promote that tonight, Mazda Media at 5:30. And then I think at 7, Nurse Kim is going to be live as well. And she's going to have attorney Nan Gallagher on the show. So I'm looking forward to those shows tonight. Check those out. And I know Brian from LTL is going to have Nan on his show tomorrow night as well, I think at 9 p.m. So there's a lot of good content. I wanted to just jump up here early and just kind of follow up on what we were talking about last night and with what happened at the hearing today, because it was about the sallyport video. It was about everything that we were talking about with Abby last night, and that blew up. A lot of people enjoyed that. I heard all through the night and into today, people were checking that out and loving it. I could tell people really enjoyed that interview, and Abby herself and her expertise on this. And when the iCloud came up today, the iCloud, remember about Michael Morrissey and the iCloud and the emails? The iCloud came up again today. And when that happened, I was like, holy shit, I got to get Abby back on the show tonight because this is just, we need to hear from Abby again. So I have her back, and I think she's all set up and ready to go. And definitely want to talk about the iCloud and what the hell is going on with all these videos and new videos. Apparently, there's another new. I can't wait to see them. We want to know what kind of files they are. And then there was also Turtle Boy today was at the hearing, and he had his laptop open, and you could see. How dare you? How dare you? Did you see that picture? Grant Smith Ellis. Oh my God, that was hilarious. And there's video of them, and Aiden's asking Grant questions, and Grant runs away when he gets a serious question like he always does. So there's a lot that happened today. And Judge Bev is just like, can we get this done in 10 days? April 1st is coming. Let's book this. Let's get this. She has no thoughts, it seems like, on the fact that this defense, the prosecution keeps hiding evidence, keeps losing evidence, keeps hiding everything. She just keeps moving it along. So let's bring up Abby. I can't wait to talk to Abby right now about the video with Video Jesus, Abby, and about this iCloud and about what happened in court today, because she's got a lot to say about this. Welcome back to the show, Abby.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Did you? I imagine you got a pretty good response from last night's show. Did you?
I did, yeah. And then even today was just like the cherry on top of the cake. I was like, oh, yes. Yesterday I was 97%. I wanted to leave like the 3% error for Magic, but now I think it's like a 2% error for Magic and 98%.
We've moved up. We've moved up.
We moved up 1 point.
Ratchet. What ratcheted up? Was it that word? The iCloud word? Was that it?
Yeah. This is what I want to know is where is this iCloud? Is it like the Apple iCloud or is it like a Dropbox? And who saves a file after they retire on their personal Dropbox or even their iCloud? And what is this file type? Is it an MP4? Is it like the proprietary? I don't think it's a proprietary because he even said it in the hearing when he was talking about, well, it might not be the original file format. There might be data missing, but so I'm assuming that it's not one of those proprietary files.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering who was that officer? Was it? I'm guessing it's with the Canton Police. I'm
Yeah,
guessing it's that detective because I think he retired. The Gallagher, is that him? Yeah, I think that might be it. But
I
I
think
just
so.
wonder who it is. Who was that? Who saved that? Who's going to be answering questions about it?
Yeah. And the interesting part is that they don't have any drives with like the footage that was played in court. Because even on Twitter, I posted that one Lally screen from day 20 with, the Equivision files. I think even one of them was like 12 a.m. to, which was dated the 28th. So it was 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. the next day. So there was a full file in there, a full exe. So where did that drive go? Because it wasn't a
Unbelievable.
shared server. It's
Uh,
interesting.
what about this cloud thing? Does that was just like when I heard iCloud, I was just like, what?
Yeah, I want to know if it's the iCloud or if it's Dropbox. I've never even heard of saving a file that large on the iCloud. Like that would take up a lot of data. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know how big the file is. I'm assuming that it's not, gigabytes and gigabytes, like huge. But I would assume that I don't know why you'd store it on your iCloud.
I'm hearing this name in the chat, Sergeant Paul Deacham Petro. I've never heard that name before. I wonder who the hell
Oh,
this is. Yeah. I want to know how did you guys come up with that name? Was it mentioned? Did I miss that today? I don't think they mentioned the name. I wonder how people think it's him. Someone said, "Will the hash value be intact?"
no. And like I said, you have to specifically save it. So as a default, if I export a .ps or a .exe, which is the only type of files, and the PSX, which are the only files that will actually play in Equivision, you have to actually click a box that has, like the hash authentication on it. So, I mean, I'm assuming they never saved the files because if they don't have the hash value, then it's they're not going to be able to recover it because it has to be saved with the hash.
Mm,
Otherwise, you can still play it, but it's just not going to have that the encryption or the hash.
excellent. I guess they said that was the Hank Brennan motion.
Yeah. So I think what is the actual? Yeah, I think they use AES 256 GCM encryption for the exported video files, and that requires a password to decrypt. And then the encryption. So if you save the file on like a hard drive or something, it uses the AES 128 encryption, and that's used to back up the files to protect the system configurations, I believe. So if they didn't use that in the export, then it's not going to have any. You can't recover that because it was never saved.
I'm reading the chat because they're talking about this sergeant detective. Very interesting.
It'll be interesting to see if it's that person.
Yeah. Apparently, here it is. So I guess Brennan had it in his written response.
Oh, he
That's how
did?
people know. Yeah. Which I haven't seen.
I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go look on the Justice page. Nick Rocco hooks me up. Nick
Yeah.
Rocco. I don't know if people know, but there's on the Justice for John O'Keefe Facebook group. There's the files. One of the tabs at the top. You gotta move to the right, and if you go up there, Nick always posts like every document he gets. So
Oh, nice.
yeah,
I'll have to check that out.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, there's so much that happened today. I'm still shocked about this iCloud thing and just the way they went about it today with the new videos and even the Brian Albert video where they all of a sudden had dropped that off recently that he's ordering pizza. Well, that's his defense through Kevin that he's ordering pizza at 1:30 in the morning. Uh, after he's after he's on the stand and saying he made butt dials and those weren't dials and he didn't talk, but he's caught on the friggin' phone. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And then they have footage of Higgins making a call, which he said he never made a call.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it is. And
I
yeah, go
oh
ahead.
no, no, sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say it's just like how can the judge deny that they're covering up because they keep dropping new evidence that
Yeah.
they never had before? It's like, and there's no transparency about where it's coming from.
Yeah, and it's little snippets, which is interesting. How are they making these little snippets if they don't have the original file?
Right,
That's the interesting part. I think that they're snippets for sure, but I think they have the original file somewhere. It's just
right.
magically not available.
And then Hank Brennan saying, "Well, we did our best. They deleted everything off that computer after 30 days, but not admitting that there seems like there's a lot more information on this iCloud. Like,
Yeah.
it's like now that's coming out too. It's like, there's more video. Like there's more video out there. There definitely is. Like where is the entire thing of video?
It's going to be interesting. And even if they don't have like the original, I mean, they definitely don't have the original file. They probably don't even have an Equivision format. But it will be interesting to see what file type it is because that way there's a point of comparison. So we know what's happening in sequence relatively, unless it's edited, which it probably is edited to be honest. But you'll be able to see that data in the file. So even if I edit, a MP4 or an MOV or even an AVI, you can see from the XML and some of the sidecar data, like where certain things are in relation to like the when the frames were simultaneously created. So there's a lot of like metadata that you can actually read from that file to see like what is the origin story of it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I love this comment too from Della. She's talking about when there was a campaign for the police audit. There were 30 to 50 people. It was hard to know how many people there were because they kept putting the same names over and over on the list. They'd have somebody listed twice or three times. You had to like really figure out how many people. But there was a group of people that signed a document being against the police audit. I think the defense should definitely probably take a look at that and make sure they exclude any of those people from the jury selection. What do you think about that?
I agree. I mean, I think it's going to be really, really hard to find a jury that's not going to be biased at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
Or even, I mean, like, even look at like the pro Karen Reed side. There's a lot more people that are pro Karen Reed than think that she did it.
Absolutely.
That's their only excuse now is that she said she did it. And that's like their main argument, which is really bad because it doesn't even make sense in a post-traumatic moment. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if they can find a jury that's not biased. What do you think?
Yeah. But, also, is there going to be somebody that's like a plant? You know what I mean? Like someone that has a
That's
vested interest in this, that's the, for people to kind of have been aware of it. Like even myself, if I went, they would exclude me, obviously, if I would lived in the district and got called. But at the same time, I feel like I could actually be rational about it, sitting down and looking at just what happened at the trial and make a decision like most people, especially
yeah,
people who are less involved like we are. So, less invested, let's say, than we are. But what's scary is just the idea of a plant or someone
yeah.
who's a kook, as Betterow would say, a kook, someone who's just insane or somebody who's insane because they're part of the crew, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I always worry about too.
I mean, look at the jury at the last trial. I mean, that was wild. What did you think about that?
Yeah, something didn't seem right. I mean, I don't know. It could be anything. This is America.
Mm-hmm.
People get it wrong a lot, and especially in regards to believing the police and the government. You know what I mean? A lot of people have that kind of belief in it, and especially if you've been someone who's been like an EMT, maybe. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
they've seen a lot of probably bad decisions out there. You know what I mean? Like think about what they see: car accidents. People who have
Yeah.
gotten in domestic violence incidents, car accidents, drunk driving. So they could be skewed a little towards that safety. And just judging, because that 99% of the time when they saw something, it was because, someone did something crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could be that, but it also could be, too smart for their own good is what I always think. Like they just kind of thought they were going to solve it on their own and push it through because they're smart and they're too ego based. Or
Yeah.
or it could be something shady. I mean, I don't know. I have no clue. But those are my thoughts. Like it could be any of those things. We don't know. We have no, unless you really know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree.
So,
Well, hopefully there's no plant the next time.
yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things too with this jury, with the jury trial, is to get the jury right. Like that, you
Yeah.
have to pick the right jury. That has got to be such a hard thing to do when you're just, one person after another. You got to make a decision, without knowing who these people really are. Put your life in their hands,
And it's such a highly publicized trial too. So I think that's going to be tricky as well.
Yeah, because a lot of people can get crazy. A lot of people, like even
Mm.
people who aren't even involved in it, just being a fan or just being someone who wants the center of attention, like people can get weird. They get,
Yeah.
so
They want to write a book about it.
yeah,
Like,
this is their chance. This is the closest they've ever been to Hollywood. You know what I mean?
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, get it. What I just saw a super chat. I want to acknowledge these super chats. Here's one. Thank you, the Orwellian unperson. They say it's this CPD officer. I'm not sure, but I guess that was what everyone's saying. It was at Brennan's response.
I'll have to check that out after the stream because
Yeah.
now I'm like really interested
Yeah, I'll
to
be
see
hitting the
what it
justice
says.
group. I'll be hitting that justice group. Della
Yeah.
says, yay, thanks, Mike. How can we make sure defense gets the names to exclude from jury? Mike, you always come through with important material for this cause. God bless you. I mean, that's part of the show, hopefully. Hopefully they're watching. I know, I'm pretty sure they do watch some of the content that we do. So, I mean, unless you want to reach out, Kelly Reed is always online. She's very responsive. Facebook. Sometimes she watches the show, too. Thank you. Thank you for the comment, Della.
In case anybody's watching, I volunteer
You
to
volunteer?
download the cloud file and film it.
You volunteer your services to the Karen Reed defense at this point?
Oh yeah, free of charge. I will totally go down there and download the file. Like it would be my pleasure because I'm so curious about
Yes. And we were talking about this earlier offline. What type of file do you think that you'd find in that cloud? What type of files? Are they going to be exe or what do you think?
I'm going to I think it's either going to be a .ps. Actually, I don't even think it's going to be a .ps. I think it's going to be an MP4.
Me too.
I think it's going to be an MP4 file.
MP4.
Which is fabulous because then you can actually prove too that if it's exported MP4, there's where all the magic is happening. That's the magic replacement file.
The magic isn't what did Hank call magic again? He called it a software. Is that what he called it?
Oh yeah, it's XMP is it one software and magic is the other software. I still can't get over that. I remember when I was watching that, I had to pause it, rewind it, and then just I think I listened to it like 5 or 6 times and I was dying. I'm like, did this turn really just say an XMP file was a program?
It's clearly a hash rate. Hash bit.
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. It was amazing.
What did you think about that today? What did you think about Hank Brennan today?
Oh, all I could do is just whine, but I did my best to get this file and to make arrangement. Like, please, he knows where that. I think that people know where that file is, or Lally had it. Where is the Lally drive? He had it the first trial, or at least that file type. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah, you wonder too, like, the way he was doing that too. He was like, I've been very accommodating. I went out of my way. I gave them but at the same time, you almost feel like exactly what you said. I think Bettero said this too, that he could easily get split from the DA's office because he probably wasn't responsible for any of these shenanigans, but now he's kind of left holding the bag, kind of protecting it. He's either going to decide to protect it or just be like, "That's on you." You know what I mean? Like, it's
I
weird,
know.
isn't it? At this point, I
It's
just
so
wonder
weird.
how do you feel about him? Like looking at him, do you think he's going to continue to defend the indefensible, or do you think he's going to maybe just say, "Hey, this isn't worth it to me for the 75 G's you guys are offering me to my reputation"?
I think he's going to turn. I think he's going to turn.
Yeah.
I think he's going to give up the 75 grand and just say this isn't worth it.
Yeah, I wonder.
Especially when that magic file comes out.
Right? There has to be a point where Hank is just like, I'm not your hashtag Hank anymore. I'm just not going to do this anymore.
When he said hashtag, I almost died too. I was like, oh my God, is he talking about a hash value?
Yeah. And this whole thing too, I'm so glad someone made this point. Do you think he's going to continue to do this? This is a comment. I want to slap him when he said the so-called ARCA experts. Do you think he's going to continue to do that when there's a jury? Do you think he would
Oh,
say that type of
yeah.
thing?
Well, I mean, the two strongest things I think in this case is the sallyport. I think that's going to be, if you can prove the sallyport is, fake, then I think that's going to like just drop the trial. And then the ARCA experts, I think, was the other strongest part about that case last time around, because I mean, they had real credentials. They knew what they were talking about. So I think that he's going to keep doing it just to kind of discredit them. Mark, get out. Sorry, my cat is like playing in a box and it's really
Right.
annoying. Sorry.
It's all right. We love kitties and dogs. My dog, and he crashes all the time. He's upstairs right now with Mama, so she had a slow day. So I don't have to worry about him tonight jumping on me. But we
Yeah.
love the animals here.
So what
Yeah,
do you think
just
about Hank and the ARCA experts?
I mean, that's a good question because they went to sidebar about it. And I'm so frustrated with the judge. Like, do we really have to? The jury, there is no jury selected. So
Mm-hmm.
why are we going to sidebar all the time like that? I wanted to know why she's going to sidebar. It's that seemed weird today about the so-called ARCA experts that they went to sidebar at the end. I don't know. What could that possibly be? What do you think it is?
Do you think it has to do with the FBI
Maybe,
I
maybe.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah, the investigation?
I don't know. Maybe it's a discussion about how to handle it. Like, because last time Bev wouldn't let them say that they were hired by the feds. So
That's what I'm thinking.
yeah, the jurors thought they were hired by an insurance company or something. So it was used basically against Karen Reed that the best experts were discredited on things that weren't true. So maybe that's what it's about. But I don't know. It could be like
Right.
protecting the FBI. Maybe something's going to happen. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it probably has to do something with that, or maybe she hasn't decided if it's going to be publicly like allowed to be said in the trial like last time. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
Maybe she'll
It's
hide it again.
frustrating. I think it's frustrating that the judge doesn't let us see. We have our she puts everything in sidebar. Yeah, yeah, I'd prefer it be in sidebar. I'd prefer
Yeah.
it be April 1st that we start this trial. I prefer it's always on her little terms that are just it's like what is she hiding?
And she always seems to get like very irritated at the defense. It's always that long sigh, like, oh, well, actually. And then even today with the whole Sally Port thing, I was just like, she just kept going. I think Alan Jackson made a really good argument. And
Yeah.
then the whole entire time, she just kept trying to shut him down. I'm like, look, like, listen to the guy at least.
Yeah.
What he's saying makes sense.
Yeah, someone said Auntie Bev doesn't want to talk about the FBI in public.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
But everyone already knows Auntie, you know? I mean, I don't know. I'm just tired of it.
Hmm. I just hope that they can debunk the Sally Port, because I do not feel that if they can like clearly debunk it, that there'll even be a trial. And I almost kind of hope that the magic file is a .ps file, because if the files that the defense have, if they are PS files, and you can prove that there was some tampering with them, like it's one thing to have a badly encoded file. Sure, you could just blame, oh, it was an accident, or we don't know why this magic file doesn't work, or like what they did last time where there's footage missing. But if you can prove that something was edited in a proprietary software and then say, hey, like hand it off to Equivision, I think that their engineers are going to be able to just say, hey, this is not a real file. And I think that if they can get it, if they can prove that, I think that would be a really good case of just, police misconduct, and they wouldn't go through with it.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely. I'm just trying to. All right. I just pinned. Thank you, Sarah and Shock and Hura. She's one of our mods and Jen O. They've been posting all of our links up in the chat.
Oh,
I
great.
just pinned Sarah's post, and it's follow Abby, aka Video Jesus, on X and YouTube. So definitely check that out and make sure you follow Abby. Subscribe on YouTube and Twitter as well. Yeah, there's so much that happened today. It's pretty wild again to see, like, we're again talking about like missing evidence at this joint juncture, and we all think it should be dismissed, but we know she's not going to dismiss it.
What did you think about when it was thrown out that the car was reversed in prior, that they had another
Right.
clip of
That's
the
what I
car
was
being
talking about
reversed
last night.
in?
Yeah, I mentioned that because of the snow situation.
Yep.
So it was
I
like
just,
that was staged. It was like staged.
I literally said this 2 weeks ago.
Right.
I said, I believe that this was edited out of sequence. I
Right.
can't prove it, but
Yeah.
it does appear like it was edited out of sequence.
Yep.
The clips were exported, and as long as you keep that little length in the H.264 stream, you can literally replace it if it's not, authenticated. Like if it doesn't have an hash authentication, you can literally just replace the H.264 stream. Like,
Yeah.
as long as you keep the length.
This was the
You
other
can
thing
just edit out sequence.
that bothered me. I'm glad someone brought this up about the last trial. There's so much shit that happens. You forget. You know it, but you just forget it because there's so much stuff that's happened here. But the jury, like a big part of, again, of why I think that jury was funky is because they figured out. I believe there was an inside job going on here where they figured out who were the most pro Karen Reed jurors, and then they found ways to kick them off. We still haven't heard all the details on that, but they seem to have removed several. I think it was at least two. Was it? I know there was at least one that was totally pro Karen Reed, but I think there was several actually that they removed from the jury pool.
Wasn't there 2 or 3 on the
Yeah.
last day? Like on
That's what yep. And it was exactly. This wasn't something that was done early on. This was something that's more proof that they waited to figure out who was and gather the evidence. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a while, to figure out which ones are actually going pro Karen Reed. It was near the end. Yeah.
And wasn't there also video of like the library footage where the IT person said, this isn't the footage I gave you?
Yeah. How about that? That was wild.
Because I have a feeling. I'm telling you, I have a feeling.
There's
that this
so
is
many
just the
moments
beginning.
like that. And any other trial, it'd be just like one of these moments. Like, another one that I go to is just the police mistakes, the lack of police procedure, the misspellings in the reports, not going into Brian Albert's home and doing a search or even requesting to do so. Just all this crap that they did. And it's like, last time I think the defense kind of missed this. I think this time they might not. I'm can't wait to see who they might have for a witness, but I feel like they may have like a police procedure expert, some type of law enforcement person that says, this is the book. This is how you investigate. This is what you're supposed to do here. This is what they did do. This is unusual. This would indicate, cover up. This, you know what I mean? Like, just somebody that's like a pro at that. And do you think that's something that they'll consider if they have the money this time, the Karen Reed defense? And I'm just wondering how difficult it would be to find somebody like that.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good idea. And also look at the training that they've taken or the certified courses that they're supposed to take. And they're, depending on how many years they've been there, they've been working at either was like, like as police officers or in the case of, the whole sallyport in their IT department. And what courses did they have to take? Because I think that they've gotten to a point where we're past excuses. You can't just keep saying, oh, it was an accident, because there's way too many sloppy accidents to be convenient, in my opinion.
Yeah, it just goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah. It seems like it's very intentional at this point.
Yeah. Just like the Albert behavior. Tell him
Yeah.
the guy didn't come in the house. The guy. But now they act
Mhm.
like he's their best friend. Like he was there. Everything. Matt
Well,
McCabe.
maybe they ordered a pizza. I can't get over the pizza comment.
I bot dialed a pizza. I was actually I didn't remember because I was sleepwalking. When I sleepwalk, I go to the police station, I move cars, and then I talk on the cell phone. I was actually sleepwalking. I wasn't fully conscious. I didn't know that happened.
Hey, you know what? Stranger things have happened in Canada. I feel like Canton is almost like the Wizard of Oz. Like
Really
strange things just happen.
The Canton Triangle. It used to be the Bridgewater Triangle. It's the Canton Triangle, big time.
It's a magical land of Oz where there's just magical things that happen. Magic video files, magic taillights.
Magic taillights, magic video stuff, magic magic everything. Magic glowing taillights. They just glow, the little extra glowy that they add onto them.
Yeah. Everything just glows brighter, not the right colors. So magic.
The fireball shots flow very, very well, too. Della said this. She says, Hanky is so bad, it seems he's an FBI plant to stall the process and with poor representation and arguments, all ridiculous and denied, laughable. Shake my head. I don't think that. I mean, I don't think this guy likes the FBI. He went up against them with the Whitey Bulger stuff. So I don't believe that. What do you think? Do you think that there's any possibility? I could see why, because you're right. He has lost everything so far. What do you think, Abby?
I mean, that was the only trial that I really kind of looked into. I'm not really that impressed with Hank. I don't think Hank is that good. I mean, honestly, I didn't think anybody could be worse than Lally. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of miss Lally. I never thought I would say.
Don't be Lally. Lally's at least more human.
I mean, at least, you kind of have an understanding of where the guy is coming from. But this guy, like, hanky panky, I mean, he doesn't have like a good argument. It's always, oh, well, the defense did this. Or, again, with the whole hashtags and the XMP, like the tech stuff, he's just not there. And it's always
so-called experts.
And he never seems to have enough time to research things. I think that's the most irritating thing is he's like, well, I just come on. Like, how many times are you going to use that excuse? It's called literally binge watching. Everybody does it with Netflix. I think he can probably do it with YouTube.
Yeah. And yeah, misspelling his own name. It's so funny because we talk about this now. Like, you could tell the anti-Karen Reed, especially at the end. They were not, you could tell they are not loving the performance of Adam Lally. But when Hank Brennan came along, they were we got our guy now. We got a rock star. He's going to match up against Jackson. We got our guy. And I still feel like there's still some of that with them, which is, I just wonder, like, how can they watch this stuff and still feel like that? But am I wrong? Do you think they still think he's a rock star?
I think anybody that's watched it probably knows that he's epically failing. What was it? I think one creator said was like one of the people said F around and find out. Yeah, I found out and I'm not impressed. Not impressed at all. I mean, I'm more impressed with Lally, which says a lot.
Yeah, so true.
At least Lally bored me to death.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like laughing. I mean, no, I was laughing at him. I'm not going to lie. But I think, I don't know. I think Hank might be worse. What do you think?
Yeah. And I don't think the FBI would use that guy for anything.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
That would give him too much credit. The Orwellian Unperson says, according to posted docs on Facebook, if I'm reading it right, on 10/3/22, Bev denied the defense motion to move the SDC granted preservation order to Superior Court records. That's right. That was
Yeah.
the district court of Stoughton District Court. I saw that today too. Basically, that's a different court that she was first charged in. Yannetti had filed all these motions, and that was one of them. And she basically, asked them to be carried over to the Superior Court, which she was now the judge. And she said denied. So that's bizarro too. Like it just again shows you Bev. She just why I don't know why she denied those. Why would she not deny those?
Yeah. I've never even heard of such a thing. Usually if you're going to use evidence in, a trial, you would give it to it's just common practice.
Yeah.
You give it to the defense if you're the prosecution. And yet they used it in court last minute, and then they still don't have the raw files. But yet it was allowed to be, in there in the first place.
Right.
It's wild to me. What do you think?
Yeah, and then I guess it was later approved. That's what they're saying in the chat. I'm sure it was later. But that's Bev. It's just like the process for her, just delaying everything and then saying, we got to hurry up. We have a timeline. Like, it's like delay and hurry up. Like your rights are delayed, but we got to hurry up because we got to try you. Like that's what it feels like in everything here. It's like, we don't care. We're just going to encumber you with all these motions and hearings and costs for you. And like, even the whole thing with giving back the money for the expert that was like 20 grand plus. Do you have any faith that Bev Canone is going to turn around and say, hey, yeah, you get your money back because, Hank Brennan wasted your time, which he clearly did.
Yeah. I don't think the reimbursement's going to be, I think that's going to be denied. And because it's not going to go into the prosecution. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to the motion to dismiss.
Yeah.
That comes in and that hearing, but I just already feel like she's not going to do it. That's who she is. She's going to, let's see what the jury says.
And I think that the sallyport is such like a huge issue in this case, and it makes the state look so bad that I feel like they're just going to drag their feet the whole entire time. Unless we get the magic cloud file that I'm really excited about.
I hope so.
Can't wait for that.
Me too. This is wild. Yeah, this is, I'm trying to get the comments, but they're moving again. There it is. That dismissal motion is going to be juicy as frick.
Yes.
It is going to be juicy. Like to hear that. I wonder who do you think should argue it? I want to know from the chat and Abby. Do you think it should be Alessi, Yannetti, or the big dog, Jackson? Who's gonna argue that for the defense? Who's filing it? Yeah, go ahead.
I think Alan Jackson's filing it, right?
I believe so. I believe that's what you said today. So usually whoever files it is the one who argues it, I believe.
I hope it is Alan Jackson.
Yeah.
I hope it is. He's my favorite.
I have a feeling it will.
He calls things magic.
Yep.
I think I did actually a mashup of his closing arguments like the last time around, and it was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life. I've made a couple of really good mashup reels, but I think the Alan Jackson closing statements were the best.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
I'm doing what I usually don't do. I'm following the chat today. I'm trying to keep up with everything. There it is. Jackson is. See, I hit the wrong ones. Coming in. Jackson is so professional. I know he wants to yell at the judge.
I think the only downside of him arguing it is that you can already tell Auntie Bev doesn't really like AJ. So I don't know if she would get more irritated by it, but at the end of the day, he's definitely just has like the most presence.
He does.
From a PR perspective, 100%.
There's a certain point where you get so angry about all this stuff. It's just like, oh, Like there's a righteous anger, I guess. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
for what she's been through. Like they put her through all this crap, all this money, all these hearings, all this denial of evidence and withholding and suppression and it just goes on and on and on. There's so much we forget about things. We forget about it.
Yeah. I agree.
So when you saw this hearing today, you must have been like on your chair. You must have been like, "Oh my god."
I was tweeting the whole time. I was like, just wait for it. He's going to say it's not the original file. Just wait. Sure enough, he said, well, some of the data might be missing from it, but it is the full 24 hours. And I'm like, I freaking knew it. I knew it.
And the defense still doesn't have it.
No, the defense doesn't have it. And it's not even going to have like the
And they sent
hash authentication in it.
Think about that. There's the full 24 hours of video. Defense doesn't have it. They sent an expert witness. They got a hotel. They got a rental car. They got a very expensive airfare. And then they had to pay the guy a large hourly fee and feed him. So all those expenses, add those all up. And it's like, tens of thousands of dollars. And they still didn't give him the video. Like that to me should be, you're paying and we're dismissing the charges. If there was a real judge, like that should be it.
Well, in the prosecution's defense, it does take a long time to edit 24 hours worth of footage.
They're still working on it.
They're still working on it. It's in production.
They got a couple more edits. They'll get it right over to us.
Just a couple more edits. You got to smooth it out a little bit because you got to make it look like the first one. It has to matchy.
We're still working on the time codes. Oh my!
Make sure those effects are perfect. It has to match because otherwise it's just going to be like it's going to be off. Hopefully they save the project file.
Shit! Oh my god! I can't even believe we're joking about this because that's like what it feels like.
Well, it's so ridiculous that it's hard not to laugh about. Yeah. It's laughable that they don't even have that yet. So wait, there's a Dropbox file or an iCloud or some magic file, and they don't have it. They don't have it. What happened to it? Like, why haven't they downloaded it yet? And gave it. Instead, we're just hearing about this now, but yet they got the other clips, just not the main file or even,
Unbelievable.
It takes a long time to edit, though.
It does. It takes a few days. Laura said,
usually only takes me 3 hours, but other people it takes a while.
Yeah, it takes a while. They got to take some breaks. Their computers are really slow over there, so it takes like forever to export.
It does. It takes a long time because I think they don't have enough storage apparently. Yeah. Even though
and they have to do it like 10 times because it crashes, so it takes a little while.
Yeah, it gets really problematic.
They have to delete some other files to make it work.
Has to be perfect to make sure that all their past edits make sense. That's what I'm actually waiting for too for that file. Is I think if you compare the 24-hour one to the snippets, you're going to see a difference. I think you're going to see a difference if they didn't do it well.
Oh yeah,
which they probably didn't.
Yep. Laura says, do you think if Bev approves the reimbursement, then it opens the door for a dismissal for a Brady violation? Admitting wrongdoing, love you, Abby. What about me? Laura, I like you. Go ahead. What do you think?
Well, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think Bev is going to go along. I think Bev is just going to be like, nope, denied. I think she's going to say, Hank Brennan tried. He was really nice to you. He communicated with you. He had good intentions.
Oh, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I completely agree with you. And I bet it's going to take them. So she's not going to approve it. And then it's going to take another like 3 weeks to get this file because, they don't want anybody else to analyze it. Because if you look at it too close, you might see something.
Yeah.
I doubt it's going to be.
And the thing is that she should, even though I think I know what she's going to do, I feel like she should I feel like she should have made a big deal when that inverted video was first shown in court, the way
Yeah.
it went down. I think that should have been the moment when she said, "Miss, this is over. I'm sending Karen home or Karen Reed home. Case dismissed. With prejudice. Like you're done. You don't charge her again like that. What are we doing? You know what I mean? It's crazy to me. But I feel like the judge is gonna like I said, April 1st. She's got her deadline. April 1st. We got our schedule. You see her schedule? That schedule reminds me. I used to manage bands back in the day.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a booking schedule for bands. It was like
Yeah.
she had her next 3 months planned out. Like that was like the band would always be happy with me when I booked shows for them if I had the next 3 months planned out. That's what it looked like. It was just like, boom, 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 boom. Date, everything's on the date. Nothing's changing. We're going forward.
Yeah. I feel like that's exactly how it's going to go. Because, she has to finish what she started.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's more camera time for her, too. I think she wants to be, I think she's looking forward to the next Netflix and the one of them. What's the one? Brian just posted about it, LTL. It's so funny to see because I know that this was the one. There's a new, not Netflix. I forget which one. It's a Discovery ID that's coming out, a documentary.
Oh, yeah. Is it like the Curious? I think it's like the Curious Case series or something like that.
Something
Maybe
like
I'm
that.
wrong.
And those people, like I was part of that too. Like they basically came to us, myself. I didn't know who the other ones were except for Kevin because Kevin talked about it. Nobody else talked about it publicly, but I knew there were some YouTubers they were talking to. I was one of them. They recorded like 2 or 3 interviews with me. And I know they did Brian from LTL. He just talked about it. And Kevin from Yellow Cottage Tales because he talked about it right away. And basically, they decided not to include any of us YouTubers. So they put out this they're putting out this documentary. But it just, I feel like the judge, she wants to be part of all those things. Like when I got the email yesterday and I was freaking relieved. I was like, oh, good. Like, cause I'm like, I don't know how that's going to come out. You know what I mean? I was just,
Yeah.
I was like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? So, but I feel like she wants to be in all that shit. She's like looking forward to being in all those, documentaries.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think she's gonna, she wants to be publicized as a judge, the fair judge that, made fair decisions when everybody said that, she was innocent, type of thing.
And she just stuck by the line and just kept going until, I don't know. I just feel like she's just so conventional. And it's like, there is no room for conventional here. This is the state is effed up over and over and over again.
And I mean, I'm sure that, yellow spoiled cottage cheese ruined it for everybody. They're like, this guy has no business talking
I think
about
Kevin was really looking forward to that documentary and his dad.
I think he was too.
I bet he's crushed right now. I bet he's like, oh my God, my last chance. Like this was it. I was gonna be somebody. I was gonna be on Discovery ID.
Did you see? I think one of the favorite mashups that I made was his animation.
Oh my God, that was classic. And they put it on court TV. It's like when they put your greatest loss on the television and you think it's like a good thing. It's like, oh my God, dude. You don't even know. They don't even know, too. That was the funniest thing, how weak court TV. They treated like that was like serious. Like that was like, wow, you did good work, man.
It was probably hands down. I mean, I do Cinema 4D. It was probably the worst animation I've ever seen in my life. I mean, there's a couple of bad ones out there, but that might have been like one of the worst.
It was like Gumby, like you stretch him around. And
I saw another day from one of the anti-Karens that it was like this guy getting hit by a car, but that you had all these polygons behind him, and I'm like, dude, where did he get this?
Crazy. I mean, that's one thing I hope maybe. It's Brian from LTL, I think, said this, or maybe one of the attorneys. But a reconstruction, maybe ARCA would do something like that. Like actually, not from a bartender, but someone that actually is a professional reconstruction person, an engineer, people that understand this stuff to put something together. Maybe they would have a recreation. That would be very cool.
Yeah, I think they should even do a recreation of that. I think they should do a recreation with the sallyport, with the actual sallyport camera. Do a bunch of different tests of how it looks. 'Cause I think even just that of what about what I did, I was pretty convinced after I bought the camera, and then I saw like the compression and how the how the lens was handling light and the different distortions on the side for like the fisheye lens. So I do think if they do a recreation, that would be really beneficial, at least in the sallyport, because you could literally debunk it right there.
Yeah.
Same lighting situation, put people exactly where they were standing, supposedly, out of sequence. But
I think, yeah, the Sally Port video. That's going to be, I think this is going to be a big part of the case coming forward. If there is a retrial. It's funny, too, there was a article I was reading about Betterow. He had a trial where he had a police officer on the stand who was basically lying about what went down. And halfway through the cross examination, and Betterow is defending, he's the defense attorney. So he's questioning this police officer. And like it got so good that the state was just like, all right, stop it, Gabe, it's done. Charges dismissed. Like they didn't even, he didn't get to finish cross examining the police officer because what he had exposed to the questions was so explosive that they just had to stop it. They were like, it's like
yeah,
in boxing, we call that a technical knockout or a knockout when a guy just gets
yes,
so pulverized, the refs have to step in and say, no, no more. Even if you're still standing up, you're done. You're done. There's too much blood. You can't withstand this. You're done. And that's
yeah,
basically what the state did to their own case. It wasn't like a referee stepped in. It was the prosecution. The prosecutor said, no, we can't. This case is over, and it didn't go to a jury, So I almost wonder if that might happen. I keep thinking that in this trial that there may be a moment where it gets to be so much, but then I know Michael Morrissey, and I just feel like he won't let it go. This guy is defending his 50-year political life, like his whole legacy, whatever it is.
yeah.
He's not going to give this up.
I agree. I'm surprised that they haven't. I mean, I literally thought the last trial, I thought that they were going to throw in the towel. I did. I'm like, there's no way that they're going to keep going on with this. But yet every day they just kept going on, even after Proctor's comments and the ARCA experts. And you would just think that after all of that stuff in the inverted Sallyport, a normal person that even has political aspirations would just say, you know what, it's time to fold your hand and walk away from the table. But they didn't.
No, they
They're
didn't.
still not.
Nope, absolutely not. Crazy. I think it's too. It's this because they know that there's an FBI investigation of the
Yeah.
district attorney. I think that's what this is all about, and it's always been about is that he knows he is the target of this investigation.
Yeah. I think that has a lot to do with why they're not dropping it.
Yep.
Because if Karen Reed is innocent, then who's going to go down? Everybody
Yeah.
else.
Yep. Him.
Yep.
And I think that's why it's taken the FBI so long. I don't think that these other people are the real targets. I think the kingpin is Michael Morrissey, and they're trying.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot harder to get from them to him than people think. It's you got to really improve intent. There's a lot of deniability. A lot of separation. So
Yeah.
be interested to see what happens here. I want to thank you for being here today. You
Yeah. You do.
like you said, you have a YouTube, a Twitter we're promoting. People are asking about it. It's pinned at the top of the chat. Please like and follow Abby on X or Twitter, whatever you call it, and her YouTube. She's got a YouTube. We got our big bump last night. We want to make sure we get more subs tonight for her as well. And you only got one video, but you're working on more stuff now too, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I should have something like a really good video next week where I kind of go through the entire process from start to finish for the workflow.
Awesome.
So be on the lookout for that.
Great. I'm really appreciate that you were here today again. I think you have something to do too that you have to leave at a certain point. I forgot what time.
Oh yeah, 4:45.
Oh, we
I have a
okay.
meeting, but
All right, cool. We don't have to keep you all that time, but it's
no, this was
good to
fun.
know. Cool. I'm just wondering if there's anything else that we should be covering from today too, because it was just there's just been a feeling every time we have one of these hearings that it's just how much more can we just shake our head and
I think that the sallyport is going to free Karen Reed.
yeah.
Just have to prove that, because I mean, if they did what I think that they did, which is like either method A, method B, which is like a screenshot video as method A that they played in court, or they played it in Equivision. I hope it's method B, because if it's method B, there's no denying that like they mess with the proprietary software and that there's engineers that can like reverse engineer that file. So I hope that it is method B, and also it's just a little bit more interesting, or it's method C, which is just magic, which is only
Right.
3%.
That's right.
But I am going to come out with the workflow of how you would do, both things, which I kind of already showed the other night of like the screenshot video, kind of like one method to do it. But I do believe that all of those, the sallyport was completely edited. And today was actually a really good indication when they said that car was pulled back in reverse, because we all thought that. And I said this weeks ago that it might be edited out of sequence. And I'm just so excited for the magic cloud file.
Unbelievable.
And also I volunteer for that.
There you go. You heard it here. Abby's down to help Karen Reed. This one came up. Do you think Brennan has given up trying to exclude defense witnesses since he has failed so far?
Yeah. that was a pretty big failure the last time around.
Yeah, he's failed.
Green. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Murray Russell.
Yeah.
Richard Green, he didn't even get the hearing in the end. So, I mean, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It might have been the hashtag.
Yeah. And it basically Richard Green just in his affidavit too, just like smacked the crap out of them. It was like, I've never seen this in my entire existence. Where they don't have the hash values. It's unbelievable. So
Yeah.
I don't see how that's helping him.
And also the fact that he was that the prosecution's argument was that he troubleshot in other programs. That is what you do. That is troubleshooting 101. I couldn't even believe that was an argument against it.
Yeah, right. He checked his data with more than one place. How dare he? How dare he double, triple, quadruple, whatever, how many times check his work? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. That's what you like. It's not just one thing, it's not like the Plevin Chat GPT. You're checking other things.
Multiple sources, in reporting, we call that multiple sources. We like that, I love if I can get 6 sources, like that is so backed up. Usually for a reporter, journalist, you want to get two or more. 3 is like a magic number. 3 is like, yes. But like 2 is a good number. 1, sometimes you still will go with something on 1. I mean, but you'll say, just one source, and you'll say whether or not you trust that source or why, you might trust that source, without trying to give it away. That's the hardest thing about that stuff is when you have to try to keep things anonymous to protect people. There's so much information I have right now that I can't share. It's because I want to protect the source. And sometimes the source can yield you much more information down the line too. So,
yeah. I think even with like when I was initially doing the whole sallyport research, so like kind of doing that whole scientific method, when I posted on Twitter, I actually had a lot of people reach out to me that have worked with Equivision and have worked with Access cameras. So I love that. I always love double checking, my work. I checked with some other colleagues too before, throughout the process, just to make sure I'm like, I'm not off base, right? This makes sense. They're like, yeah, actually makes a lot of sense. So I always like to have, again, which he did say in the motion too, that he checked with, different sources at, what was that? company.
No, are you talking
Axiom
about
or
Celebrate, Axiom, or
well,
something
Celebrate and
Celebrate?
Axiom, I think, was the other one
Yeah,
that
Axiom.
he checked with both companies in their IT just to make sure that he was like reading it correctly. I think that's really smart.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you should do.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, exactly. I think that's why the judge laughed that one out. She couldn't deny it. She knew it was
Yeah.
just going to be a waste of time.
That's why people
Even
make
Bev.
peer-reviewed articles.
Even Bev. But I still can't believe that she's letting this go on. That she's going to go forward with an April 1st retrial. That's what kills me on this.
I think if you disprove the sallyport before then, it's gonna be.
I hope so.
It's gonna be off track. But then again, that's probably why they won't get the file.
Yeah, right.
It's gonna have to be edited.
Are they going to say, "We're sorry, someone deleted it off the iCloud. They hit
How
the
much do you want
button.
to bet?
They butt dialed it off the iCloud. It disappeared."
I'm gonna bet right now $200, and I'm gonna donate it to Free Karen Reed that they lose that file. $200. Mark my words. Anybody else can call me out on it. $200.
If they
bet.
lose it,
Yeah, if they lose it,
if they lose it.
If they don't lose it, I'll pay up.
Oh my god, I think they're not going to lose it. I think they'll come through. But
I bet they're going to look at it. They're going to go to the cloud.
You
and
never
it's
know.
Like, oh, it auto sank. It's not there anymore.
Yeah. You'll be like 20. I think what will happen is they'll have a 24-hour video or whatever, but it'll be like a black screen.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, and then they'll have like a couple videos that they've already released or something. You know what I mean? Part of that, but they'll be like, oh, there was a machine error. It just blacked out the screen. Like,
of course, it's going to be a machine error. Trust me, it's going to be a machine error. They have to edit it. They're either going to lose it or it's not going to be the original.
It'll be like a piece of paper like this, like covering up the thing. You know what I mean? It'll be like, it won't even
or
be
it'll just have like a bunch of static.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll put like a pixelation mask on it and then just say, oh, it must have been a network error. The camera must have went off.
A network error. It's unbelievable.
That's why we can only give you a certain amount of them because, well, there's just pixelation. There was a drop in the network for 12 hours that conveniently cut out. This is going to happen. I can guarantee it.
I bet. I mean, it's just, they have like unlimited gumption just to pull BS. Like because there's no repercussions so far. Like they get away with it. This judge lets them get away with it over and over again.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling.
Yes. You want to take a couple phone calls?
Sure.
If anyone has any questions tonight on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure, check my meeting's still there.
You can go. Oh, you have to go now?
I don't think
you got a few more minutes?
Yeah, I have a few more minutes. All
right. You don't have to stay long.
No, that's fine. I think that I just wanted to double check my meeting. Yeah, just to make sure it wasn't moved. Yeah, we could definitely take a few calls.
Okay. 978-560-3155. If it's working, you know how we roll here. I'm on the Bluetooth. It doesn't always come out right away.
Oh yeah, I have plenty of time. It's 4:45. I thought it was 4:30.
I'm checking my messages too, making sure I'm not missing anything too. I got these customers that hit me up last minute sometimes, but none, thank God. I don't want to walk anymore. I got a dog to walk later, but I don't want any extra ones. Who's on the phone? You're on the show right now, live.
Oh, it's Eric again from Vegas.
Eric, you're talking to Mike and Abby. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I got one question. I meant to ask you this the other night.
Yes.
Did they ever get a copy of the video that Michael Proctor watched that was not inverted, that he had saw before he went and did his testimony?
Say that again. Michael Proctor, what video?
Michael Proctor watched the video that wasn't inverted, and Al Jackson asked him if he had watched the YouTube of the trial to see the video that they had corrected. And Michael Proctor said that he did not watch a YouTube video of the trial, and he had got a copy of the video that wasn't inverted.
Yeah, I
of the
remember that part.
sallyport.
You do or you don't?
I do remember that Proctor said that he saw a copy of the sallyport that wasn't inverted and it had a yellow timestamp as opposed to a blue one.
Wow. That's a good point, Eric.
I
So
don't. I
I
think
meant to ask you that the other night. Yeah, I meant to ask you that the other night, but I was too nervous and I rambled on. And your show's great. And Abby, thank you. That's all I have to say.
That's a great point, Eric. Thank you for calling and making it tonight. You're perfect tonight.
Awesome. Thank you.
That was a great point.
Bye. Free Karen Reed.
Free Karen Reed. Thank you, Eric. Awesome. That was a good point. Just another example.
And that's why even in the video that I posted, I did put I try to show the color changes that you could do from, blue to yellow. And I suspect that he did see a yellow version of the timestamp and that it wasn't inverted when it was sent to him. And then they flipped it.
Wow. I wonder who sent it. That's what I want to know. Who's sending these videos around? Michael Proctor's going to be asked about that, I bet.
Yep.
Hi, you're on the show. Who's calling? You're talking to Abby and Mike.
Hello, Mike. Hello, Abby. Abby, it's Ripper here.
Hi.
Hey, I was wondering. All right, so the Commonwealth's argument is that the video self-deleted. I'm wondering if there's any other cases 30 days or within the 30-day period of that self-deletion that the Commonwealth used from that same DVR. Like, for example, say there was a case 2 weeks later and there was footage from the sallyport that was used in a case. So that would mean that footage would also be deleted. Like, has anyone looked up cases that were filed within 30 days to see if any sallyport videos were used within the 30-day time period? I mean, that's what I would do. But
yeah.
I'm just curious if there's another video from within 30 days. Because if there is, then that means that Karen Reed's video wasn't, it didn't fall off, that someone actually deleted. So I was curious about that. Wonder if anyone had looked into that yet.
I haven't heard that, and I would be surprised too if that was the case. Like, because I'm not sure that they keep a lot of cars in that sallyport. Beyond just like this antique vehicle that they have. They have an antique Canton police car that's there.
Yeah.
I don't know what they really use that sallyport for. I don't know if they keep a lot. You know what I mean? Like, how often do you think that there's a murder, a so-called murder incident with a car? You know what I mean? Where they store the car. I think that's a rare situation.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately,
I think they use it to remove tail lights.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's used for.
Exactly. There you go. I mean, that's so yeah. But it's a good point. I mean,
you guys take care.
I think that's a good point, though. They should look into it to see if there's any other cases, because you never know. There could be something that pops up.
Right. Okay, you guys take care. Be safe, and free Karen Reed.
You too.
Bye, Abby.
Bye. That is an interesting point. So even if there was, because I guess if there was another case with a sallyport that had a video recorded around the same time, you would know what the frame rate is, you would know what the compression is, and then you would know how much of those, like, what the files were stored on at that point. Because I think that what's happening is like this 30-day deletion. I mean, if it was, somebody sent me something today about the make and model of the MVR, and it was like 8 terabytes. I would be curious to see why they had that policy on there to begin with, because 8 terabytes is pretty large. It's pretty big.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That could, 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
Could store the archive files, and that's not even on a server. So like usually you can archive to different servers, which is standard practice. Kind of, like you would have like almost like a shared storage server that
Right.
you know you could access the files.
I wish StreamYard would offer us YouTubers that much, space to keep our files. Like that's the thing. So that is a lot of space.
It is.
Hi, you're live on the show with Abby and Mike. Who's calling?
Hey, Mike. Of course, it's Kevin from South Boston.
Oh, Kevin from Southie, bro. What's up, bro? Are you decorated? Are you highly decorated?
Decorated dude right here. Hey, so on that video, one of the things that I saw on the sallyport video is during the trial, they asked, Lally asked Yuri for point of reference. The car came in from the left-hand side of the video, and he said, okay, so where is the main driveway into the Canton Police Department? And he said, it's to the right of the video. That right there alone was making you believe that the video was not inverted, that it was in the correct angle.
That's right.
Okay, so that was the first thing. So to me, he lied because he knew full well that thing was flipped, right? He just used the old, it's correct. The thing I wanted to ask Abby, which, by the way, great work, is on all the other videos, anything that was collected from the Canton PD, handed over to the DA's office, what do you believe the odds are that, there's been some tampering with, just the photo in the driveway of the vehicle, even the ring video of the car going down the driveway? Because you know what I noticed in the ring video, as the car backed out, right as it just pulled out, you can see full red to the left, full red to the right. There's no change in color or anything. And to me, it looked like if you had 3/4 of your taillight missing, you would not get full red on both sides. Take a look at it yourselves. You'll see what I'm talking about. But go ahead, Abby.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the evidence, the ring video is kind of iffy for me, just because I don't think that was tampered with, and it's more of a commercial provider anyway, so they really wouldn't be able to get away with it. I mean, they probably could get away with it, but I doubt that. But as far as the one video on, it was on February 2nd, the one with that was super dark. I believe that was tampered with. I think a curve was applied to that, just the way the highlights are. I also think that
the other side of the sallyport.
Yeah. And the photo you're referencing, I also think that was tampered with. You could tell there's a sharp mask on it. It's very prominent.
Yeah.
And they also didn't have the metadata for that too either, right?
So let me ask you this. The town director, the town IT guy,
Louis Shostras.
during that trial, obviously when they handed him the disc and said, do you recognize this? He said, no, that's not mine. That to me right there, I think they should be going back to that IT director and saying, okay, so where is yours?
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Yep. Did he say how he sent the file? Did he say how he sent the file initially? Was it a disc? It wasn't a disc.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think he said disc.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he said disc.
So it was just a different disc.
Yeah. I don't remember that. But was he the one? Was it only the library video that he recorded?
I think so. Maybe Mike, you can answer that a little bit. Well, I think that's
I don't remember. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Because he was for the town and the Canton PD. They did their own.
Yeah. I think it was just the library, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, what would be kind of funny is if somebody asked for video footage from 60 days ago from the Canton PD, I bet you they'll provide it.
Oh, they
No,
probably will. I'm sure they change
a
those
FOIA
settings
request.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that's great. It was great talking to you guys. Keep up the good work. And Abby, I hope you do jump in on this thing.
I'll at least offer to download that footage. I want the Magic Cloud file.
All right. Take care, guys.
You too. Thanks, Kevin. Kevin from South Boston. It's so funny. I don't think we've ever taken 3 calls in a row in months from 3 guys. Usually it's like 3 women in a row. So I think we got all the guys that got crushes on Abby. I'm starting to see that. I'm starting to pick that up tonight. Let's see. Hi, who's on the phone?
Hello?
Hi, who's calling?
This is Patrick from Los Angeles.
So we have
Orange
a 4th
County,
dude in a row. This never happens.
Oh,
It's usually
4.
4 women in a row. Where are my women at tonight?
Yeah.
Patrick, what's going on?
Huh?
I'm
Not
just,
much.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. No, you go
I'm
ahead.
just kind of blown away that we have 4 dudes in a row call in. That never happens here.
Yeah, well, it did today. A lot of things don't happen in this case, so.
Yeah. So what do you got for us?
Makes sense.
What do you got for Abby and I?
So on this new stuff that was turned over of the car backing in. Now, the first thing that pops in my head, since nobody's seen what this is, and we've had the mysterious snow print of the car being there.
Yeah.
Is there any way? First thing pops in my head. They broke the tail light. They're like, okay, and they've taken the car out, and they're going to be backing it in to show the broken tail light. But if they're messing with the video and the timeline, wouldn't that, if that was the case, because we don't know what that video is yet, because if all of a sudden it's like, look, it's broken.
Yeah.
If they have messed with it, isn't that going to be able to be, because you said the timeline could be all messed up if they were editing it. But wouldn't that be able, if they were to pull something like that, wouldn't you be able to nail that somehow, or would it just not matter because there's no hash value? To like prove that, like, hey, look, we backed it in. Look, the taillight's broke. Because it's just such an odd thing to all of a sudden introduce, oh, we backed it in. Because then it opens the question of, but you pulled the car in. So I don't know. That's what just popped in my head in regards to like, look, the taillight's broke.
Yeah, I mean, maybe again, if it's still inverted and I'm trying to think of a way that they would do that would, unless there was too many people behind the tail light and they just wanted to like restage it again. I would say that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah. I think they did it twice.
Because why would you introduce, oh, here's us backing in? Yeah. And now if the video's gone and it just seems like with you, if they get the right people, they can prove that this video has been messed with.
Yeah.
And if they prove it's been messed with, I mean, obviously it seems like this just needs to be done with and they need to go to a higher, whether she's guilty, not guilty, or whenever they get to an appeal situation where it seems like somebody should be able to look at all this, above Bev in regards to anything. Yeah. I mean, you can have a head injury and understand this just doesn't seem right, irregardless of bias. It's past bias, I would assume. So it seems like with all this goofy stuff, it's just so strange to be like, oh, and here's a video of us backing in. It just right out the gate.
Yeah. Because
you're like, but we have video of it pulling in. So why would we have it backing in? Anyway, first thing I think is because it's on the snow print. The car was already there. Somebody said, uh-oh. And they pulled the car out. Taillights broke. Let's make sure we get it on footage. We've goofed with the footage. Footage is now irretrievable now. Yeah. So anyway, I just was curious if they did do something like that. Isn't there going to be some proof, even if there isn't the hash values, that, hey, wait a minute, you've messed with the timelines here, and there's no way this car could have been backed in and pulled in. If, let's say, that footage shows a broken taillight, because why would you introduce that? I would almost bet money that's what happens with that footage.
Let's hope so. What do you think?
Well, no,
Do you think that will happen?
Let's not hope so. Because, like, if they show, you know, how mysteriously, oh, here's the picture of the whole taillight gone. But we know it was inverted. If they introduce, let's say that footage is them backing it in, which would make no sense, and it shows clearly in the backed in footage and it's super clear, and you're like, look, taillights broke, guys, so we don't even need to look at anything. See, there's your proof. And then you go, yeah, but it pulled it. You see what I mean?
Yeah, that's where I think that's where that point of comparison comes in with the magic cloud file. If you have a file,
that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, the magic cloud file is going to be the key because you can still authenticate something. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's good practice. You always want that, you know, hash authentication from something, you know, especially that's being used in a criminal like trial. But the magic cloud file is going to be the key because you can have other points of comparison. Even if it is an MP4, you can look at like the different frames. So you can do like more of a visual analysis of it. But then you can also look at, again, like what the frame rate is. Is it going to match the file that they got in court? And that's going to be easy to tell because I bet that it's an H.264 stream. So you'll be able to see some of those values and some points of comparison, at least just in the metadata.
Yeah, because it's just, like I said, we don't know what that is, but it's such a strange thing to have introduced because these guys have to know that the car was moved. These guys have to stay on top of watching things and in the loop somehow. Going, oh man, we really have to account for that. The car was moved and put back in. I don't know. Everything's so strange, but that just seems so odd to be like, oh yeah, here's, you know, we're backing in now. Doesn't that instantly already say, but it pulled in. So you guys have done something with the car. Do you get what I mean? Like it seems there's so many, like there's so many things obviously in this case. You know, even last night rewatching like Jen McCabe, you remember when Carrie Roberts is, you know, giving an interview at her house and she's letting the group know she's saying everything.
Yep.
And they're just, and you go, when you look at that, because I would assume the FBI can get these guys on obstruction and conspiracy just off of that group text, because that's what they're doing. It's like Jen can say, oh no, she was just letting her feelings out. But what I was getting at is there's just all these pieces all over the place. And when the first trial is going on, I'm assuming her team, and this is where I'll leave off, I know I'm yabbering. So all these little things, and I know we see them and we forget, but there's all these little flagstaffs that are all over the place. Of just, you can't even question that something not only suspicious, but something occurred. Because Karen, she goes home. Her timeline's very small. But when we look at the mass of everything with everyone else, it's, you know, beyond Occam's razor. So when her team comes back in, they've spent this whole time probably going over all that. Am I wrong to where they're like, okay, here's all these points where we didn't follow back up, or
absolutely
actual, like even this video. Seems like they're opening.
I think that's why the defense is going to be stronger this time, because they're going to go through every single detail. Thank you for calling, Patrick.
Because I appreciate it, guys.
He makes a good point. Like all these little things, the defense is going to have a field day with. They have much. They are
going to have a field day. I have a good feeling about it.
Yeah, me too. I should let you go now because I know you got your conference call. I don't want to rush you.
Meeting.
You got to have a break. You got to get your 15-minute break before you go back to work again.
It's very true.
So I want to thank you so much for being here tonight, Abby. It's been awesome.
No, thank you so much for having me back.
Thank you. You have a great day. And I'm going to take some more calls. And make sure everybody follows Abby on YouTube and Twitter and support her. And thank you so much again, Abby. We'll see you real soon.
All right. See you soon.
Bye now. I'm going to keep on. I got a few more things I want to go over. I'm going to play maybe some video tonight too. Mazza Media is coming up at 5:30. Who's on the phone right now?
Hi.
Hi, you got to turn down your...
Nancy.
Hi, Nancy. You got to turn down what you're watching it on. We can hear it in the background.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. How you
That's
doing?
better.
Yeah, that's much better, Nancy.
I'm good.
You're the first lady to call. This is 4 guys in a row. Now Nancy called. As soon as Video Jesus gets off, the women start calling. It's so funny.
I've called before.
I know you have. How you doing tonight?
Am I on yet or
Yeah,
no?
you're live on the show right now. It's just you and I, Nancy, live on the show.
Okay. Is this Mike?
Yes, this is Mike.
Okay. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
If I recall correctly, in the beginning of the trial, when they showed the people that were at John O'Keefe's house to take Karen's car, there was one officer there that made mention about that tail light not being totally broken, just cracked. For some reason, nobody seems to be bringing that up anymore.
Yeah. Say that again. I want to make sure I'm hearing your point correctly. Say that one more time, the last part.
In the beginning of the trial, when the police were at John O'Keefe's house or Karen Reed's to take her car to
You're
tow
talking
it,
about the tow truck driver and the police officer from the town.
I don't think it was the tow truck driver because they didn't have him testify in the trial.
Oh, you're talking about
it was one of the police officers.
Yeah, the town police
Yes.
officer.
It was one of them, and I can't remember who, that said that the tail light was just cracked.
That's right.
Not completely broken.
Yep.
But nobody seems to be bringing that up and going back and asking that person again. Do we know why?
Well, what do you mean nobody's asking him? Like, who's not asking him? What do you...
Any of the lawyers.
Well, they may be.
They're not bringing this up. There is one person that said that tail light was not completely cracked.
I mean, in the first trial, I think that they should have maybe asked him more questions, but I think they didn't know what he was going to say. The second trial, maybe they have talked to him. I mean, we don't know.
Oh, okay. You're right.
I think they probably have
I
talked
just
to
can't
him.
remember which one it was.
Yeah.
All right.
I know who you're talking about.
I'm
I think
just adding another comment.
Yeah, I think it began with an R. His last name began with an R for some reason, like Rayhos or something. What was his name? I know who you're talking about. He had actually gotten in an accident. He had been hit by a drunk driver. So it's funny. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah. Yep.
Since the accident happened, you mean? Since Karen's accident?
No, I think that was before. I think that's why he was back on duty. Yeah. Like, I'd have to look into that because, my memory gets foggy. I take in so much information. But he had been in some kind of accident where someone had hit him. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah. He's a hero. He told the truth.
Yeah, I do recall that him saying that when he testified.
Yeah.
But it seemed to go over everybody's heads.
Oh, that's just
and nothing more has been said about his testimony.
I think that's the point. Maybe we haven't talked about it. The YouTubers haven't talked about it enough. That's probably a fair point.
Yeah, I watched this faithfully.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anybody else bring it up.
It's true.
And it's been on my mind for months.
Yeah, and there's so much.
And that's why I'm calling in today.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's so much to talk about. We forget about all of it. It's just like there's so much to it, like inconsistencies. And that's a perfect example. Police officer, it said it wasn't shattered. He said it was cracked. Said it was cracked.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And he's the only one that has actually said that. Everybody else is saying the thing was broken in 45 pieces.
Yeah. And I want to know about that tow truck driver. Like, why have they should, hopefully we'll see the tow truck driver on the stand.
I would think the tow truck driver should have taken pictures of it.
Exactly. And the police.
A very sloppy investigating here.
Yeah. And the police.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Mike, thanks. I just wanted to bring it up because it's been on my mind for months.
Good point.
And I'm never hearing any more about his testimony. And I thought I'm going to bring it to your attention.
Yes. Thanks, Nancy. I bet the defense is thinking about it, though. I bet they are, that's the thing. They have so much more time now to kind of just, I'm sure they just watched the trial over and over and over and over again so that they get every detail that they have to follow up on. You know, I'm sure they probably just got a notebook out and just made notes through everybody's testimony. I just have a feeling that's what their team's been doing. Probably plotted it out on a big board.
Yeah, I've actually thought about contacting the defense attorneys.
Yep.
And leaving a voicemail.
Yeah.
About it, because I don't hear them bringing it up anymore, comparing it to anybody else's testimony.
Yeah. I think so.
And I've actually thought maybe I could contact them and leave a voicemail.
I think they got it handled. I think if you're gonna contact anyone, it's a show like this, because they listen. They listen to the shows. They get ideas. Believe me. But I have a feeling that they're on it. They were going to be on it. I guarantee.
Wonderful.
You. Thank you for calling, Nancy. Thank you for bringing it up.
You bet. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye.
It was the Dighton police officer. Yeah. I think maybe I'm wrong. Was it Nick Rios or something like that? Oh, I forget his name. It's hard to remember everything. Barros. See, I was close. I said Rios. It's Barros. Nick Barros. Thank you. That's all. I should have been looking at the chat. You guys always know. Nick Barros. Good call, though. Yeah, and they got it right. Cop that released it to Proctor in Dighton, Mr. Reed's house. That's right. It was the parents' house. Nick Barros. See, I was close. I said Nick. Nicky. Nicholas. Yeah, Nicholas Barros. I want to thank Abby for being here tonight. You know what I want to do is I want to play some video from court today. I'm going to take a quick little screen break, but I'm going to play the video and we're going to come back too. Even before that, we do that. I'm going to play Abby's video again from yesterday. We played it at the beginning of last night's show with her. I'm going to play it in the middle of tonight's show because I just want to make sure everyone sees it. And this is about the sallyport video. It's what she brought up. And then I'm going to come back and maybe play a little court video from today. And then we're going to get all geared up for 5:30. Mazza Media is going to be on at 5:30 tonight. So we're going to check that out too.
About frame rates. I know this is not microdots. It's a little nerdy, so bear with me, but let's get the basics down first. So frame rate, simply put, is a number of frames or images that appear per second of a video. And the frame rate is really measured by what we call FPS, so frames per second. The more frames in each second of a video, the smoother the action. On the other hand, the fewer frames could also result in key or motion blur. Many security cameras allow users to adjust the recording frame rate. Lowering the frame rate can improve the network streaming and conserve storage space. Conversely, the higher the frame rate, the better the quality, but also the larger file size that the video is going to be. So think of it this way. The lower the frame rate, the lower the file size. The higher the frame rate, the larger the file size. So if I was in a nonlinear editing software program like Premiere, I had a 15 frame per second video and I put it into a 2997 sequence or even higher, what's going to happen when we get into the GOP in the next slide is going to add frames in the export. So adding frames to 15 frames per second. So if it's 15 frames per second, I export it 2997. It's going to add frames to each second. But what we're going to do now is we're going to watch a simplified explanation, just showcasing some of the different frame rates that security cameras have the capability of doing per the user settings. So let's play this video.
The purpose of this video is to compare various recording frame rates that can be used in closed circuit television and network IP-based video surveillance systems. This is a side-by-side comparison of video that was recorded at 30, 15, 7.5, 5, and 1 frame per second. When planning a video surveillance system, the frame rate that the DVR and cameras support is one of many things to consider. In our experience, recording between 7.5 and 15 frames per second is the most common. This is because very little quality is lost, as you could see here. Once you start going below 7.5 frames, the choppiness is much more noticeable to the human eye.
So in a nutshell, that's what we're talking about as far as frame rates and recording. So Axis cameras, you can film anywhere from 1 to 2997 frames per second. Why is this important? And this really goes into what we're going to be talking about next, which is wrappers and flavors. We're referring to the encoding and decoding process. And we'll get into that in this slide. So what is compression? So a video codec shrinks or compresses a digital file to be more easily stored and distributed. Codecs have two main components, an encoder and a decoder, that works together to make a video file size more manageable. An encoder, the encoder is part of the codec that handles the actual compression of the file. And this is what we refer to as a codec flavor. There are many flavors across the board. A decoder is a component of a video codec which prepares the file for viewing after it's gone through the compression. It decompresses it into a specific video container. And we call this, and we will refer to this as a file wrapper. And so just to put this in more of an analogy, let's imagine a world without video codecs. Uncompressed audio and video files can take a huge amount of storage, especially for lengthy recordings. Without video codecs, you'd essentially have to wait minutes or even hours to watch videos on YouTube because of the enormous file size. And this is what codecs and wrappers help us with in order for us to stream better, to store files better, and to be able to get better quality in what we're exporting and encoding and decoding. So a codec uses an algorithm that determines the best way to shrink the size of your video file while still keeping everything intact. So let's get into codec flavors. So there are many different type of codec flavors, and that includes H.264 and more recently the H.265, which is the HEVC, high efficiency video encoding codec flavor. Other types include AV1, MPEG-4, MPEG-2, VP9. So these codecs really refer to how the video stream itself is compressed and encoded, and essentially how the stuff, quote stuff, in data is laid out in the box container. Common codecs include H.264, which is really what we're talking about in the sallyport. Get into video wrappers. So I just want you to think of video wrappers as containers, different formats for wrapping a package. Just like you might use a cardboard box padded with an envelope or gift wrap to package an item. Video containers wrap up the encoded video streams in different ways depending on their use. You're probably familiar with image formats like JPEG. Similarly, video files use special formats. Some of the most common packaging formats are MP4, MOV, and AVI containers. So now let's get to MP4, which is more widely supported container that focuses more on live streams. So just think of Vimeo or YouTube, Twitter, Meta. They all use MP4s in a lot of their decode and encode. So when we're talking about Echovision, which is a lot of what I posted about, records a video in an H.264 flavor, which is what our last slide was about, was more of the codecs. And this records and uses a proprietary wrapper, which is called an EVX. And that's when we go to codec wrappers. So an EVX is a proprietary wrapper that Echovision uses to, again, wrap the video stream. It's then packaged into an EXE. And this format packages the video data along with a built-in player, allowing the player on Windows systems without requiring additional software, which is kind of what we also saw in court with the pre-screenshots that I posted on Twitter. But this is essentially at the foundation where the sallyport, in addition to how it functions with Echovision, is recorded and how it's also exported. And this is particularly useful in sharing clips with users that do not have Echovision installed. So I just want to put that out there for the people that are wondering how all of these things are related. This is the two foundations of how all of these things come together in one EXE. So now let's get to group of pictures, which is a very complicated technical concept, but it's actually pretty easy to understand when, you got to get down to the nitty gritty of it. Group of pictures is composed of IBP frame structure. Different codecs, which we call flavors, have different algorithms that determine this. There's long form GOP and then there's short form GOP. About GOP, the I frame is used to predict the first P frame, and these two frames are also used to predict the first and second B frame. Okay, so I know what you're thinking, this is super confusing. So let's break down what an I frame is, a P frame is, and a B frame is. GOP, the first frame, behaves like a complete picture, such as a photograph. It is able to be encoded and decoded on its own. Everything necessary to display it is inside the iframe. So think of this as a full picture. P frames and B frames are more what we would like to refer to as motion frames. Now let's talk about a P-frame. So P-frame means predicted frame. These frames only save the difference motion vectors between themselves and the former frame, usually the I-frame. This significantly reduces the file size, as most video sequences exhibit significant redundancies between frames due to movement. This is also called temporal redundancy, and we will get to this when we start talking about the ghosting frame artifacts that we've seen in the sallyport. Now let's talk about B-frames, bi-predictive frames. The B-frames are more densely compressed than the P-frames, and they are more compressed by taking information not only from the preceding times, but also from the future times within the GOP. These frames can achieve the highest compression ratio, but it should also be noted that B-frames are also the most dependent on the surrounding frames for accurate decoding, which is why B-frames arguably is one of the most important frames because they are such densely compressed. So let's talk about GOP length. A short GOP length will generally help improve video quality, and improve random access and error resilience, and make the video easier to edit since it has more frequent iframes. The more iframes in a video will allow more points for clean cuts. Remember this. More points for clean cuts and edits without depending on many subsequent frames. However, shorter form GOP will use more bits and bit rate to maintain a higher quality. And this is important to note when we're looking at security camera footage. Long form GOP is generally better for compression. It produces smaller file sizes or a lower bit rate at the expense of potentially decreased error resilience and fewer opportunities for the user to do edits. So again, if we're going back to types of GOP, short length GOP is really great for editing. It will provide more clean cuts without depending on many subsequent frames. Long form GOP, which is where we add more P and B frames, is going to decrease the file size and achieve a lower bit rate, but it's going to be at the expense of potential decrease in error resilience and fewer opportunities for the user to do edits. So it's really important to note in the sallyport. And that's really important to know of why we can see these clear cuts where the picture does not make sense as a form of, even if this was just natively exported, right? The one downside of GOP is compression and temporal artifacts. Iframes, like complete standalone photos, every frame contains a full image. They're reliable, resistant to visual errors over time, but do require more storage, which we covered. So there are some codecs that will do all iframes, which is great. The picture is awesome, but the file size is massive, and it is massive for playback, and it's just not really practical in everyday use, especially in particular for a security camera. This is an H.264 codec. So when we start talking about P and B frames in relation to temporal artifacts, think of it like a flipbook that only draws changes between pages. Efficient for storage, but small errors in one frame can ripple through the others. And this creates visible distortions. We call these visual distortions temporal artifacts. And these include anything from motion inconsistencies to blurring. For example, what can happen is if you are editing something that's 15 frames per second, it has a long form GOP or even a short form GOP. Once you make the cut, you might be able to see ghosting from the preceding predictive or by predictive frames. So why I know this was cut is because if we just slow down this clip, so let's look at this motion. It's a lot of movement going in, and particularly if we had a 15 frame per second security camera recording frame rate, we would expect to see if there was something, again, maybe there was some disruption in the file, we would expect to see some of these artifacts that we're looking at now, right? Because we're seeing these people that are walking and it's cutting on that kind of motion. So this isn't a natural in relation to what we can look at here. So if there was a problem with the file, we wouldn't get this smooth motion. So we see the car coming in. It's probably the fastest thing in this scene throughout the whole sallyport is when the car pulls into the garage. We don't see any temporal distortion because we see this temporal distortion when we're cutting on something, which means that we're cutting on a frame or a predictive or a bidirectional frame editing program, because I do believe that this was edited in After Effects. I don't believe that they match the native frame rate, because if it was a 15 frame per second clip, we wouldn't be adding P and B frames. But for some reason, this video is adding P and B frames, which is really, really key to the reason why this video is edited. For example, some of these frame rate challenges can come into play when we are working with group of picture codecs And in particular, for example, say can be applied to security cameras, but say you're filming something on your iPhone and your frame rate is 15 frames per second, and you put it in a 2997 timeline or even a higher frame rate timeline. What you're doing is you're doubling or tripling P and B frames. So we're making more P and B frames, so we only have a limited amount of iframes. And this is what causes a ghosting, almost like a comet trail. It's almost like doubling pages of a flip book by guessing and adding new ones between the originals.
Hey, jerks, thank you for hanging out with me this afternoon into the early evening here. I want to thank Sarah C from last night. She sent $15 on Venmo. I want to thank her for sending along a donation. I'm not sure I got to thank her last night. And William B sent $50 today for our court stream. Thank you so much, William, on Venmo. And I want to check the Cash App, see if any Cash App donations came in. I want to thank everyone who's been super chatting. I think we're good on Cash App. Perfect. Now I get to put my glasses back on. And I think we're all caught up on the super chats. Thank you so much, Debbie. Thank you, Glenda. Thank you, Walter. Thank you, Forensic Gator. Thank you, Laura. She's here a lot. Thank you so much, Laura. Carla, thank you. And another frequent super chatter. Thank you, the Orwellian Unperson. I love George Orwell. 1984, especially Animal Farm. That was the best book. Della, thank you so much. Mark, thank you. All right. We've got a lot of super chats tonight. Thank you so much for all of them. I want to probably close off the show here playing some video from the Karen Reed hearing today. Here we go.
And this is the guy. This is the guy's name, Michael Long.
Okay, 1 second. Printing. Oh, wait.
Speed it up a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, so he's all set.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, hold on. Okay.
Live, please. All persons have any business before the Honorable Beverly Finodi, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court, and for the County of Norfolk. Your name, give your attendance, you shall be heard. So I say the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, court is now open, you may be seated. My name will make sure yourself from your office and put away.
22117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Can I have counsel identify themselves starting with the Commonwealth?
Good morning, Your Honor. Laura McLaughlin for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
Adam Mallett for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, Your Honor. Hank Brennan for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Mr. Brennan.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson for Ms. Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Good morning, Your Honor. David Unetti for Karen Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Unetti. Good morning, Ms. Reed. All right, so to start, I'm going to start with the Commonwealth's motion to exclude defense witness Richard Green's debunked opinions. So, after review of the pleadings, it's clear to me that the issues that give rise to the dispute do not invoke the gatekeeper function of the court. To me, it's rather a difference of opinions that need to be resolved by the jury. So I'm denying your motion. I'm not going to exclude the evidence. All right, so then I think what I'd like to move to is the defendant's motion to recover expert-related expenses from the Commonwealth. I did get a response from the Commonwealth on this, so I need to hear, Mr. Jackson, what it is you're asking me to do and why.
Global superstar, The Weeknd, presents
Hold on. I thought, oh, one moment. Thought I turned that off.
And the court did receive the addendum filing the court asked for as well, correct?
No, because I've been waiting for it and I do not have it. And I checked as recently as 5 o'clock yesterday and this morning.
I'll get it. I'll get it.
Okay. Do you have an extra copy for me? Because I don't.
It was coming from, the final copy was coming from Miss Little from back in my office. That was.
When did she send it?
When?
When?
Yesterday. I think I was on the plane.
Margaret checked for me yesterday.
I think it was yesterday. I think we really do. I remember.
Can you come here for 1 second, please?
Oh, look at this. This is interesting.
Who is
What's
she?
going
Did
on
she
with
send
Jim,
it to
the
all the
clerk?
clerks like she's supposed to, or just Mr. McDermott?
I think she sent it to everybody. But she, her normal filing.
I'll check it. Yeah, no, Judge reminds me, I did get something else. It wasn't this.
It was from the Commonwealth, so I've been waiting for this, so I need a
That
minute
was
to
sent
read
at
it.
12:57 p.m. yesterday.
I did not get it.
No. More importantly, the Commonwealth got it, right?
Yes, that's my copy I handed to Council.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Listen to the sighing. Oh my.
To save me time, does your expert in his affidavit say that this information was erased or that it wasn't there?
Wasn't there.
Okay.
It was erased by an operation of automation.
But do I bother reading your expert's affidavit again so it's not in there?
And I'll address what our concerns are in my oral statement.
All right. I hear you.
May I?
Yes.
The court started by asking, what is it that the defense is asking for? Basically, we're asking to be treated equitably and fairly. This really is an issue of equity, an issue of fairness. And the court maintains this court maintains the inherent authority to issue sanctions when there is an injustice. And those sanctions can include something like cost-shifting sanctions. And there's a body of law that exists that deals with this exact thing. And that body of law includes the case of the Committee for Public Counsel Services versus the Attorney General. That's at 480 Mass 700. It's a 2018 case. The court may remember what was, I think, pretty widely known here in these parts, which was the Amber scandal. had a bunch of cases going back from 2010 all the way through.
I'm very familiar with the case.
All the way through 2018, and it culminated with Justice Gaziano discussing in his opinion, single justice opinion, exactly these types of things. And what Justice Gaziano said was, quote, the Attorney General does not dispute that the court has the authority pursuant to Rule 14, sub C, sub 1, to impose remedial monetary sanctions for a discovery violation. And he cites Commonwealth v. Firth, indicating that sanctions may be imposed under Rule 14 for failure to comply with discovery obligations, and sanctions should be tailored appropriately to cure any injustice resulting from a party's non-compliance with its discovery obligations. So the real question before the court today is, and really the only question before the court today is, has Ms. Reed suffered any prejudice based on blatant discovery and Brady violations by the Commonwealth? And the answer to that question is a resounding yes, she has. Your Honor, Ms. Reed, as the court knows, is on trial for her life, and she's been expending precious resources for some 3 years now, defending herself against provably false allegations. And at the center of that storm of defense are these sallyport videos. It should be pretty straightforward, really. I mean, it's just a series of videos at a particular location for a particular time. And that time is January 29th, 2022, from midnight until 11:59. It's a 24-hour period, 23 hours and 59 minutes. It should be pretty simple, but it has been anything but simple in this case. We've been asking for a full download of every single one of those cameras and all that footage from January 29th, 2022, from 12 a.m. to 11:59, but we've never gotten it.
When did you first seek it?
We asked for the preservation on February 2nd, 2022, when Mr. Yannetti said retain and maintain all physical evidence. We've been seeking these videos since well before the first trial. We didn't get them before the first trial.
Do you have a date? Do you have any chronology for me?
I don't. I can certainly provide those, but it's been...
I'd like that. I mean, that would be...
I'll be happy to do that. It's in discovery request after discovery request after discovery request. Basically, there's also a catch-all. We've been asking for all physical evidence concerning video footage from Canton PD from well before the trial. We didn't specify which cameras because we didn't know which cameras had video footage. We didn't know how many cameras there were, but we didn't get anything from the Commonwealth. And I'll address that in particular in just a second. Mr. Lally didn't give it to us before a full download, before the trial. The Commonwealth didn't provide it during trial. And today, as I stand here, we still don't have it.
You still don't have it. It's funny, too, because after sending the expert in, they didn't get it. They don't have anything. They don't have anything. But they have it on an iCloud, we find out. I am going to step out for a minute. I just got a call. I've hinted around about this, and some of you have seen it. I said I was going to do a show on it, but I haven't. It's just smarter for me not to do a show on it. But it's my attorney just called me. So while I'm live, my attorney's looking to reach me. So I'm just going to step out for another minute here and follow up with him. And he knew he figured out I was live. I did take the call. I stepped out for a second, but I'm going to deal with a couple things. So I'm just going to play the video. I'll be back. I'm not disappearing. If you got any good questions or comments, definitely post them in the chat. I'll be checking them out. I'll be watching. But just going to take a quick break. I'll be back. Let's watch Alan Jackson. He's a master here. This is so good.
And interestingly, Mr. Brennan does make mention in his opposition that, quote, at no time has the defense ever made a formal preservation request. I found that interesting for two reasons, and I have two comments about that. First, as the court record reflects, on February 2nd, 2022, I just referred to it, Mr. Yannetti filed a preservation demand for, quote, all physical evidence to be maintained. That DVR, the footage on the DVR, is physical evidence that was required, not requested, but required to be maintained by the Commonwealth pursuant to that demand. But second, and this is probably more important, it wouldn't have mattered if we didn't ask for it to be maintained. It wouldn't have mattered if we didn't ask for it to be preserved. This was a self-executing duty by the Commonwealth. As Justice Gaziano stated in the same case, the Committee for Public Counsel, quote, a prosecutor's core duty is to administer justice fairly. To fulfill that duty, a prosecutor is required to turn over exculpatory evidence to a defendant without regard to its impact on the case. With failure to disclose evidence favorable to an accused that is material, either to guilt or to punishment, is a violation of due process. Litigation strategy plays no role in this process. Under our rules of professional conduct, a prosecutor is required to make timely disclosure to the defense of all evidence or information known to the prosecutor that tends to negate guilt of the accused or mitigate the offense. And he cites Massachusetts Rule of Professional Conduct 3.8, subsection D. The Commonwealth's Brady obligation is self-executing, Your Honor. It wouldn't have mattered one whit if we didn't ask for that footage, but it turns out that, in fact, Mr. Yannetti did ask that it be maintained. And the Commonwealth has still failed to preserve it. What we have gotten, it appears, are scraps and fragments of videos that the Commonwealth has decided on their own, and within their own time frame, to dole out to us over the course of months and years. And included in that scrap and fragment was a video that was missing 42 minutes. The court is well aware of this video. It was heavily litigated and heavily referenced at the first trial. That's the exact time frame. The missing portion is the exact time frame that the SUV was being pulled into the sallyport. We got that video on April 4th, just days before the first trial. Keep in mind, it's a video from January 29th, 2022. Another one of those videos was the inverted video that has now seen some fame. But the Commonwealth tried to sell to the jury as a true and correct copy of a video within the sallyport, and we got that one after the trial started, in the middle of trial. So why were we getting videos from January 29th, 2022, 2.5 years later? And why were some of those videos altered or manipulated and not in their proper format? We still don't have answers to those questions. And literally, while we're asking that question and while we're pondering that question, a couple of days ago, we're getting yet more videos, scraps, piecemeal. We got another sallyport video just a few days ago, this one showing the Lexus backing into the sallyport from some exterior camera. And that also is exculpatory evidence. Mr. Brennan writes in his opposition that the idea that the defense has been misled or was misled in its efforts to try to go secure that DVR footage is a distortion of the facts with, quote, no legal merit. Really? A distortion of the facts with no legal merit? Where's all this footage coming from, if not the DVR? It's the only place it was held. It's the only place it was captured. So of course we were misled by continually getting these piecemeal snippets of footage from the DVR, from the very source, had to have come from there, coupled with the Commonwealth saying, and Mr. Brennan saying, yeah, come on out, you can have your expert come out, meet us at Canton, we'll provide the DVR, you can have him look at it, he can bring his equipment, download whatever you want from that 24-hour period. So what were we to believe? That it was on the DVR. It had to be. How else were we getting these piecemeal videos? And they've had that DVR for 3 years. They knew exactly what was and what was not on that DVR. They had to have. This has been the center of a storm that surrounded this case from the jump. And to claim otherwise, it's just patently absurd. So Mr. Brennan also wrote in his opposition that Mr. Jackson said, don't touch the DVR, don't mess with it. So I informed Chief Rafferty, tell your staff, don't touch it, don't mess with it, almost suggesting, intimating that it's my fault that we didn't know what was on the DVR. That's absurd also. How am I supposed to know what is or isn't on the Commonwealth's DVR? What I actually said, that was a sort of a liberal interpretation of the facts. What I actually said was, Mr. Brennan, do me a favor, if we're going to come out there, just don't have anybody download it in advance. Let's do it all together when we're all in the same place. That's what I said, and he accommodated that. He said, sure, we'll agree to that. So based on this history of getting these small clips from January 29th, we knew there had to be more footage. So when Mr. Brennan came on board, we made the request to him as well as the requests that we had made to his predecessors. We want all the footage for that 24-hour period. And lo and behold, we started getting more clips, more snippets, more piecemeal bits and bytes from that DVR, and one of them was a clip of Brian Higgins standing out in front of Canton Police Department in the parking lot in the freezing cold at 1:35 in the morning on January 29th on his cell phone. To punctuate the importance of that video footage, recall that this issue was raised at trial. We talked extensively. When I say we, both the Commonwealth and the defense, me in particular, spoke with Mr. Higgins about this issue. It was raised at trial, and Brian Higgins never once, not once, on direct examination or on cross-examination, admitted to having made a phone call in the middle of the night on January 29th. And yet now, after the trial, we get a video of him doing exactly that. And that also proves that he lied in front of a federal jury, in front of a federal grand jury, when he testified that he didn't have or make any phone calls in the middle of the night. That is called exculpatory evidence, and that's Brady evidence, and it was withheld in its entirety during the first trial and for the last 3 years. And it's against that, the reason I bring that up, Your Honor, it's against that backdrop that we then say to Mr. Brennan, kindly give us the footage. I don't want this piecemeal thing to keep going on. Just give us the raw footage. We'll send an expert. So the plan was put in place, and experts were retained, and flights were booked, and hotels were reserved, and transportation was arranged, and all at Ms. Reed's expense. She's writing the check for all of this. And our expert flies out to Canton, walks into the room, and within 10 minutes, they open up the front plate of the DVR, and lo and behold, the Commonwealth says and agrees, oh goodness, there is no footage. It was overwritten within 30 days. What? How could that possibly be? So
We know
the
why.
expert calls me. Mr. Jackson, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. I'm not a tech. That's your job. I don't know what to do. If it's overwritten within 30 days, I don't know. Maybe there's a log. Let's find out who has access.
It's just like when Brian Higgins threw away his phone. Somehow he just happened to throw his phone away right before the court filed the paperwork, whatever we call that, to seize his phone records. He got a new phone. He threw it away. Just a coincidence. So many coincidences.
Whose digital fingerprints were on that DVR? Who downloaded the footage, when it was downloaded? What about these clips that we have? I'm very confused.
Yep.
So the expert goes back and says to the technician for the Commonwealth, Colleen Crawford, well, let's at least download the log. At least we can have access to that, and we can start.
Did she just
unraveling.
deny it? I would not be surprised. I predicted this, right? We knew that she wasn't going to go along with that. She should, but it looks like she just came down and said, no, I haven't seen the documents. I'm live, so I don't know, but I'm taking your word for it. I would not doubt it. Oh, Bev. Oh, Bev.
What's going on here? Oh, sorry, that's been overwritten as well. There
Oh,
is no
sorry. Oh,
log.
sorry.
You get no footage. You get no log. This was a complete and utter waste of time. According to the Commonwealth, that system, as I said, overwrites every 30 days. So by February 28th, I counted them. By February 28th, 2022, every single frame of that footage should be gone. So how did we get the inverted video in April of 2024? How did we get the video clips of Brian Higgins in October of 2024? How is that possible? The only explanation, Your Honor, is that the Commonwealth downloaded the entire system within the first 30 days. Otherwise, it's gone, admittedly. And all of that has been withheld from us for 3 years. Then to add salt to that wound, the Commonwealth allows us to go on this wild goose chase, spend $12,000 some odd of Ms. Reed's money, and fly an expert out to Canton for absolutely no reason. Zero. The 30-day overwrite protocol is something that their technician absolutely would have and should have and did know before we ever set foot in Canton. She was well aware of exactly why we were going out there. We were going out there to download footage from 3 years earlier. She knew it, we knew it, Mr. Brennan knew it, everybody knew it. But within 10 minutes of walking in the door, it was revealed that there, in fact, was no footage. And that's a fact that the Commonwealth had to have been aware of for the last 3 years. Yet Karen Reed is the one having to foot the bill for what turned out to be just a snipe hunt. It's not fair, and the Commonwealth should reimburse her for this fool's errand that was not of our making, of her making. The Commonwealth has since told us, Mr. Brennan told us, that remarkably he went to Canton PD, and this is in his opposition paperwork in his declaration, and he spoke with some officer. And that officer told him that he, the officer, personally made a copy of the entire January 29th video footage and placed that copy in some sort of an iCloud account. Not on the DVR system, not in the official data bank in which it's supposed to be stored, but on some iCloud account. And we're finding out about this in 2025. It's outrageous. What it is this entire situation surrounding this DVR and the Commonwealth's maintenance of that DVR and the footage on it is a complete dumpster fire. And Ms. Reed has to pay for the fire extinguisher. And that's not fair. The High Court and the Committee for Public Counsel, the same case that I referenced a little bit earlier, and the court will know this because this was sort of the big takeaway from that case, is Justice Gaziano fashioned a cost-shifting remedy against the Commonwealth and for the defense. And that included the entire cost of investigating and locating and contacting nearly, I think it was 10,000 defendants. It was an enormous amount of money and an enormous undertaking. And the Commonwealth had to foot that entire bill. And the reason they had to foot the entire bill is because the Supreme Court decided that it was prosecutorial discovery violations and cost-shifting remedies were in order. We're asking absolutely no more than that from this court. Fairness dictates that Ms. Reed be reimbursed. And I'll submit, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Brennan?
It's notable that the defense purposely conflates two very separate issues. If you had a chance to read their motion, they suggest that they should receive costs because they hired an expert, came to Canton, and didn't receive the information they wanted. Yet today in the argument, they try to give you a historical complaint about the production of videos in this case. That is a separate issue. That's a Rule 14 issue, but that is not the motion before the court. The reason I suggest they conflate the issues is because they know their merit for costs. I mean, their motion for costs has no merit whatsoever. And so what they're trying to do is incite facts, invoke this injustice they've created so that the court looks at the motion that they actually filed and gets it distorted. It is disappointing to stand before a court and file an affidavit as an attorney and have someone else have a cross affidavit. Frankly, in my career, when that has happened on rare occasions, I find that embarrassing. There is very skilled and able attorneys in this courtroom, and to work out discovery matters and agreements is something that attorneys always should do. And that is what I've tried to do in this case. I have tried to give the defense the best opportunity I can to get whatever information they want, whether it is required or not required. Yet, I'm standing here today, and I have to now share with you my conversations with the defense. I have to share with the court my position, which is contrary to the defense, because they have lodged a motion asking for money that they are not entitled to. If I stand back and do nothing and remain the dignity of the court, then what happens is there are claims that just float out in nowhere, and a lie unchecked becomes the truth. So now I must stand before you, and I must tell you what happened.
He's such a hero. Hank, you're such a hero.
In September, and I began to look at discovery. I saw a video produced in August from the Canton Police Department, and we immediately turned it over to the defense.
Immediately. Hashtag Hank. Hashtag Hank.
I began a study of the case and tried to articulate and account for all evidence and make sure the defense obtained everything that they were entitled to and more. The defense asked me
And
to
more.
try to account for the video because they believed it had been an issue in this case. I looked through the docket. There was no motion to preserve videotape. I read
Lie.
the pleadings. Attorney Yannetti was meticulous in his motions to preserve. It was admirable. It was meticulous, the work he did. There was no motion to preserve, and that has some import. It doesn't relieve the government of their obligation to provide Rule 14 discovery or exculpatory evidence or Brady evidence. It doesn't relieve the Commonwealth of their obligations to be dutiful, but it is difference in kind. Because the defense, if they want something that is not obvious, they put the Commonwealth on notice. Having practiced for almost 3 decades, you file motions to preserve within 24 hours, 48 hours, or 30 days. And so when Mr. Jackson called me, Attorney Jackson called me, and he said he wanted to come out and bring an expert to look at the NVR or DVR of the Canton Police Department, I had never seen that in 30 years. It's not part of our obligations. He's not entitled to come into the Canton Police Department with his own experts and download his request. But in the spirit of transparency, in an effort to help the defense so there will be a fair trial and they can obtain all the discovery, understanding the history of this case, seeing that there was an August videotape post-trial, I wanted to do what I could to accommodate them. So without any hesitation, despite that there was no court order, no motion to preserve, I invited him to come to the Canton Police Department. I called the chief of police. I asked the chief of police, although this was unique and novel, unprecedented, could the defense come and access their material? Typically, the Commonwealth will download it and provide them a copy. She had no hesitation. So I called Attorney Jackson back, and I said that we would allow it. Attorney Jackson expressed concern, understandably, being a defense attorney, that almost 3 years later, the video may not be on the NVR. I had the same concern. I want all of the evidence. I'm not looking for evidence that's good for the Commonwealth or helpful for my case. I want all of the evidence. And so after he expressed the concern, I made clear I had no idea what, if anything, was on the NVR. We could go and look at it, but Mr. Attorney Jackson didn't want that. He wanted his expert to be the person to open the NVR.
I got a comment on this, Scott McGinnis. He says, haha, I haven't seen that in 30 years. When were you ever a state's prosecutor before this hanky-panky? And the thing is, too, it's I think he's stealing from Richard Green. Wasn't that Richard Green's point? He had never seen this before? Never seen the evidence like this without the hash values? He's not very original, isn't he? Not very original. Hank is, I'm guessing Hank plays music. I bet he's in a cover band.
And respecting his position, providing a professional courtesy, I agreed. I didn't mislead him. I didn't think there would be video. I had no idea. So Mr. Jackson, Attorney Jackson, pardon me, sent out his expert. And by the way, the expert that came was not the expert they designated. I got a call because we were in court on a hearing that they had sent a different expert they hadn't noticed. And my response was, it doesn't matter. Whoever they send, let them look at it. And so when they did, not surprisingly, the information had been overwritten. Now, while there was a 30-day override on that machine, I believe the defense expert knows that there was a backup hard drive which kept materials longer than that 30 days. I do know that there was materials on that DVR, NVR, back in July of 2024, and I know that from a report that was generated by the Commonwealth and given to the defense, so they should know that as well. That may be one reason why they wanted to come out. They came out on their own volition. I extended the courtesy as much as I could, made no promises. I was clear, I was very uncertain about what would be on there since I never looked at it. After I learned there was no information on the NVR, I took the initiative and went to the police department. I viewed the police department, the cameras, I spoke to personnel, and I spoke to the retired individual who then was responsible for providing video upon request. And when I spoke to him, he told me in conversation that he would routinely store a copy on a file he noted as a detective file or on his hard drive. That was news to me. I thought that was helpful, so I notified the defense. about my conversation.
See, might be the split here, right? We're talking about between the corruption and Hank. Hank was notified. He let the defense know of it. Pretty shady.
I was not trying to lure them back to Canton or have them spend money. I was trying to, as I always do, be as transparent as I could and as helpful as I could. Now,
You were being helpful, but what has this been on the up and up throughout, Hank? I don't think so.
I simply should have done and could have done is I could have gone to that detective file and downloaded the video and given a copy to the defense. That's my obligation, no more. But I didn't. I extended the courtesy that if they wanted to come and look at that file before we opened it, so it could be beyond reproach, they were invited to do that. I wasn't encouraging or luring them. I was inviting them. Because
Yeah, but then you didn't
they're
deliver.
Part of the process, I thought it would be disingenuous
Wasted the
not to
time,
let them
dude.
Participate. And what they told me is to wait. So now that information, whatever it is, I don't know because I haven't seen it. And I've asked the detective or the retired detective not to
doesn't
access
know.
it.
He doesn't
It is
know.
sitting in that file, supposedly. So at this point, it's the Commonwealth's position that we are going to go and download that information and give a copy to the defense.
Why now? How do you excuse that, Hanky? Why now? Why did it take this long? I know you weren't there the whole time, but seriously, we've already had a trial. Now you're coughing up new video.
The defense waited almost 3 years. The defense was very clear about my uncertainty would be on that tape. And now they stand before the court and they try to parlay this into some type of injustice.
Parlay. I wonder if he's a gambler. Does he have a gambling issue? Is on the parlay? That's a very interesting term to use. Parlay. To parlay into this. I don't. What if he's got a football parlay going on for the Super Bowl? I mean, Jesus Christ. He talks about 3 years. 3 years to not give them the video. You're saying they didn't ask for it. They didn't know it existed. They asked for everything, Hank. Everything he said is friggin' gaslighting. Really gaslighting. And you know what's great about this? The defense may have not won this motion to get this paid for. But they've lured Hank out. Hank's had to deliver more video. He's had to make some statements online. Yeah, whip it, Hanky. I like that Devo comment. He said a Devo cover band. Whip it good. Da, na, na. Let's play the more of the video. Oh, man.
The case they cite, Commonwealth vs. Frith, the district court was overruled in
We're gonna
assessing
speed him up.
costs because there was no egregious violation. This is not a Brady case. This is not a setup. This is the government providing information as the case progresses and evolves and changes and retools. So what we have now is information, supposedly, on a database that we are going to get and give to the defense. You should deny their motion. Nobody was misled in this case. They've taken a professional courtesy and an effort to help, and they distorted it into some type of injustice. The Commonwealth's not going to be distracted from the cause in this case, which is a trial on April 1st. The court should not be distracted from the cause in this case. If they have a separate motion about Rule 14 violations or motion dismissed for misconduct, that's a separate motion. That's not the motion before the court today.
Oh, that's coming. That's coming, Hanky. Don't worry about it, hashtag hack.
It should be rejected.
It's coming, Hanky Panky. That motion is coming, Hank.
Very briefly, with the court's permission. By the way, it is a Brady case. There's no question that the data on those videos are Brady. They're exculpatory. That's where we start. So Mr. Brennan can say all day long, that's not a Brady case. Don't worry about it. Let's just sweep this under the carpet like we've done everything else. There's nothing to see here. That's not true. It's a Brady case because the information that we have now received from that DVR, that NVR system, is exculpatory to Ms. Reed. That's why I cited
Brian Higgins' part.
That's why I cited the Brian Higgins part. Correct. And I suspect there's a lot more on there as well. The inverted video part is also Brady, which we got in the middle of trial.
Right?
Mr. Brennan says, basically, his argument is, deny the motion because they took a courtesy I'm trying to be courteous. And he's a gentleman. This is not personal to Mr. Brennan. He seems to, the tone of his responses was, well, this is personal between Mr. Jackson and Mr. Brennan. It's not personal at all. This is about the defense of the Commonwealth. It's about Ms. Reed and the...
That's a good point. Brennan seems very personally offended by this. It's like, dude, this isn't about you. Oh my God. It's about a woman's life.
Commonwealth. But let's not conflate a courtesy with an obligation. The Commonwealth has an obligation. I don't care that Mr. Brennan wasn't on the case previously for the last 2.5, 3 years. It doesn't matter to me. This is not personal to him. I appreciate the fact that when he came onto the case, he immediately found in August, he found a video that had never been turned over. I can't fault him for that. He turned it over when he found it, apparently. What I can fault is the Commonwealth. Mr. Brennan was brought onto this case not to represent Mr. Brennan, but to represent the Commonwealth. And all the foibles, all the warts and blemishes that preceded him, unfortunately, are now his responsibility as lead counsel for the Commonwealth. He indicates that when he found out that we wanted to come look at the DVR, and we had absolutely no right to look at that DVR, this was just a courtesy, etc. Well, that might be true if we hadn't made the request, because we had been getting piecemeal videos from a DVR system that it supposedly was overwritten.
So the oral request by phone call you're talking about?
The latest one, right. So my request to come out and have an expert come out and see it. That's not just a courtesy. That's just good lawyering on his part and mine. You want to keep your hands clean, let's do it the transparent way. Have everybody come, bring their experts, whoever they might be, and let's download this stuff together. So there's no funny business, and everybody can wipe their hands and say, I didn't have anything to do with it except downloading the material, and whatever that material is, it is. That's just good lawyering. It's not courtesy. He was doing that to protect his own and the Commonwealth's interests, and it was quite smart until he realized, because he didn't have any way of knowing it any more than I did, that there was no footage. It had been overwritten. Perhaps, certainly the defense was deceived. Perhaps Mr. Brennan was deceived as well. He indicates that he contacted Chief Rafferty, and she said, with no hesitation, yeah, bring him on out here. I wonder if that lack of hesitation had anything to do with the fact that the chief knew that there was no data on the DVR.
Yep.
You can look all you want to.
Absolutely. I wonder. I would wonder
I have
too.
no idea about this iCloud account, or who owns the iCloud account, why this data on January 29th was moved from the DVR to the iCloud account. Mr. Brennan did say, do you want to have your expert come back out and watch as we download the iCloud account? And I said, let's defer that, because this is literally, these are the contours of motion.
Devo Hank.
And I still want to defer it, because what I didn't want to do is pay another $12,000 or $15,000 for a second bite at this apple, just to find out that iCloud account is somehow compromised as well.
Can you have someone record it? Can you have somebody that it won't cost you $12,000 if you want to come out and just have someone record it as it's being done?
Sure. I didn't interrupt.
Can you spend more money? Can you spend more money,
Bev?
Bev?
Flying an expert out and having somebody do it in person. That may be an option that we exercise.
I love you, Nettie.
About that, because I still want to have some transparency on that process. But what I don't want is to throw good money after bad at this issue when she's already spent $12,000, $12,200 and something dollars for absolutely nothing. This is not a matter of courtesy. This is a matter of obligation. This was a matter of Brady. It's no different. And by the way, the case that Mr. Brennan cites, he indicated that I cited that case. I didn't cite that case. Justice Gaziano cited that case in his opinion in the committee case. And the ultimate opinion of that court was, when there is a discovery violation, when there is a Brady violation, and there is no question that that's what's before this court, blatant discovery and Brady violations. The Commonwealth doesn't, the court may remember, by the way, on the witness stand when these videos were coming in piecemeal, especially the inverted video, 2 or 3 witnesses all went like this. I wasn't the one told it. I wasn't the one
right.
who told it. You can't, Buchanan. I wasn't the one that downloaded. I don't know where it came from. It just ended up on my desk on a flash drive. I don't know where it came from.
I don't know anything
Everybody
about
was
it.
pointing fingers at everybody else. Nobody could establish a single chain of custody for those videos, and we still don't have it. So Chief Rafferty's statement, yeah, come on out, no hesitation whatsoever. They can come look at it. I suspect it's because she knew it wasn't there.
I wonder if Rafferty's going to be on the stand this time.
This was we were led in a circular run, ultimately at her cost, and that's what's.
So didn't the two of you, when you talk about good lawyering, didn't both of you agree that it was highly unlikely it would still be there? Or are you saying that part's not true? Mr. Brennan told me that.
I said, I'm concerned if we don't get out there fast. I don't know what the override protocol might be. So yes, I was concerned, but who cares? Well, that's no legal moment. What I thought and what Mr. Brennan and I discussed 3 years after the fact, when the Commonwealth has a self-executing obligation to provide that information to us because it's Brady. They also had an obligation pursuant to Mr. Yannetti's demand, not request, but demand to maintain that information.
So where is that demand? Is that in the file? Where is that demand?
February 2nd, I don't know what the docket number is. It was filed on February 2nd after arraignment.
Here?
Wherever the arraignment was, Mr. Yannetti.
It was in the Stoughton District Court.
Okay.
But it's part of the case file. And it stays with the Commonwealth, and that obligation stays with the Commonwealth. But I would propose to the court that even if the court's concern is, well, when was that filed, and did Mr. Brennan
No,
actually...
I haven't seen it. I know it's not part of our file, and you're talking about it as if it were here.
Your Honor, I can't say with certainty, but I believe that it may have been submitted as an exhibit to a previous motion, probably early on in this case.
Okay, I just wanted our record to be clear.
Of
You're
course.
talking about Mr. Yannetti filed this. You did not file it in this court.
I may have filed it as an
As an
exhibit,
attachment, but it was
but
never
not-
any...
Right. There was, and I don't mean to cut off the
No,
court,
no,
Judge.
it was never brought before me or a judge who had this case before me to be heard.
So there was early on, and so many motions have been filed in this
Right.
case, but early on, I did bring a motion, I believe before Your Honor, asking that all of the Stoughton District Court motions that I had filed at arraignment and thereafter be ratified by this court.
Okay.
That is in our record.
So I need you to find that
Happy to do it.
and tell us when it was filed, I need to see that.
By the end of the day today, you will have whatever submissions we provided, and if it's not part of an exhibit, you will have that motion.
All right. Go ahead,
Just
Mr. Chair.
to answer that one question that I can't answer because I've seen the filing. It was filed February 2nd, 2022, court stamped. My point is, even if that weren't the case, and it is the case, the obligation is self-executing. That's what Justice Graziano was talking about when he talks about in the committee case, the self-executing duty that a prosecution has or a prosecutor has to maintain and preserve exculpatory information and provide that information to the defense. They didn't do that, and they led us to believe every single sign and signal, irrespective of what Mr. Brennan did or didn't actually personally know. The Commonwealth's conduct in this case, from the beginning of the investigation to now, suggested that that information existed.
See how he's dividing Brennan's behavior from the Commonwealth? I think this is a pressure point right here. There could be some division. He could flip against them. Watch. I think that's one of the tactics here.
The DVR existed. Sorry, the video footage on the DVR existed, and we were going out there to download. We shouldn't have had to jump through this hoop and go on this wild goose chase at Ms. Reed's expense. It is not, I think we can all in this courtroom agree, none of this is our fault. We didn't do any of this. It's all on the Commonwealth's shoulders. It's all their responsibility. They should have to pay for what happened when we went out there for absolutely no good reason. And I'll submit.
All right. Mr. Brennan, I have just a couple of questions.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. We could play a little more, but Mazda Media is starting right now. I want to get everyone over there. So if you're watching right now, we're going to redirect to Mazda Media, his show at 5:30. Jerks Raid over at Mazda Media. Hopefully you join us all and join me over in the Mazza Media chat. Also later tonight, Nurse Kim will be live with attorney Nan Gallagher at 7 p.m. Check that out. And I believe Brian from LTL will also be live with attorney Gallagher tomorrow night at 9 p.m. So there's a lot of shows for you to check out. Go enjoy them. Go check them out. Thank you all for supporting and chatting with us today. I want to thank Abby, big time. I want to thank all of our super chatters, all the Venmo people. I want to thank our mods. Thank you so much, MJ, Stephanie, Sarah, Jen, and Scott McGinnis. Thank you so much. And we'll see you over at Mazza Media. I'm not sure when my next show will be, but you know how we roll. Make sure you like and subscribe and you follow us and you check back every day, because a lot of times I do these last minute shows too. And definitely planning on some more shows upcoming. And we're almost at 40,000. We're at 39,900 and something. We need 100 people. We need 100 people to get to 40,000. So if a lot of you are watching, you haven't ever subscribed, please do it today. Help us get to 40,000. I want to get to 40,000 this weekend. So please help me. Help me. Subscribe if you haven't. Or send a friend. Or let people know on your social media. But for now, go check out Mazza Media. We'll all be over there in the chat. And check out Brian tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Brian LTL. And check out Nurse Kim tonight as well. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you.